Chapter 117. On the way back, Princess Yunmengxiang and Xiao Feng walked together. On the way back, Yunmengxiang's attitude towards Xiao Feng was completely different from before. Her tone towards Xiao Feng was much more polite. Xiao Feng had a weird feeling as he glanced at Princess Xiang Yun. From the entrance examination to entering the outer disciples, this Princess Xiang Yun, with her beautiful face, noble identity, and elegant demeanor, made the other outer disciples feel ashamed of their inferiority and kept them at a distance. Before, Princess Xiang Yun didn't even bother to look at Xiao Feng, who was just a youth with normal talent. However, things were different now. What she had just experienced made Yunmengxiang realize that the youth in front of her might be a genius that she couldn't miss in her life. In that instant, she seemed to see the rise of a genius in the future, becoming a new star in the world of alchemy. As Princess Xiang Yun, Yunmengxiang's knowledge far exceeded the other outer disciples. She obviously understood the importance of a top-tier pill refiner to the clan. If a sect had more outstanding alchemists, they would be able to refine a sufficient amount of high-quality elixirs. This would play a significant role in improving the overall strength of the sect. If she could rope in this genius pill refiner, it would be unimaginable for the royal family. However, Xiao Feng maintained a neutral attitude towards Yunmengxiang's attempts to rope him in. He didn't have a good impression of this princess, but he didn't want to offend her. After all, the Cloud Country was also the country he was from, his hometown. Yunmengxiang sighed in her heart. She knew that she had given Xiao Feng a bad impression before and that he didn't really like her. Of course, she wouldn't give up so easily. This was a future star that would be of great help to the clan and the royal family. Not long later, Xiao Feng and Yunmengxiang returned to the outer hall division. Many people knew that today was the day that the new disciple, Xiao Feng, would challenge the substitute inner disciple, Ji Fengyun. Many outer disciples put down their work and came to watch the battle. At this moment, seeing Xiao Feng and Yunmengxiang walking side by side, the nearby outer disciples, especially the new disciples, were shocked. When did Xiao Feng get together with the princess of the Cloud Country? Some of the outer disciples clicked their tongues in disbelief. After entering the clan, everyone had gotten used to Princess Xiang Yun's coldness. Apart from Xiao Sun, Lu Yu, and a few others, she didn't care about the other outer disciples. Soon, Xiao Feng arrived at the outer hall division's special challenge stage. This challenge platform was located near the residence of the reserve inner disciples. Those reserve inner court disciples all had their own courtyards and pavilions in the outer court, and they could enjoy the superior treatment and cultivation of the sect. Once one became a substitute inner disciple, they would basically not have to do any chores, and they would be able to enjoy a lot of freedom, unlike ordinary outer disciples, who basically had to do menial labor for the sect. The challenge stage was made with a special black rock and Xiao Feng could tell that it was harder than steel. Even martial masters wouldn't be able to break it. Every time someone challenged a substitute inner disciple, the surroundings would be bustling. Xiao Feng saw some familiar figures, Xiao Sun, Lu Yu, Chen Feng, and his two senior brothers, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan. Not long later, the one being challenged, Ji Fengyun, also arrived. For official challenges like this, there would usually be a deacon or vice-deacon present to supervise. The person in charge of today's challenge was Deacon Qiu. The new disciples were all familiar with Deacon Qiu. He was the person in charge of the entrance examination. However, unexpectedly, there seemed to be more than one person challenging the substitute inner disciples. The first battle, Wang Yang, challenges the substitute inner disciple, Xia Yundong. Deacon Qiu's voice was filled with a pressure that echoed across a few miles. The noisy scene quickly quieted down. Zeng! Zeng! Two figures exuding powerful auras landed on the martial arts arena. The two youths faced each other on the field. One was the substitute inner disciple ranked 20th, Xia Yundong, and the other was the challenger, Wang Yang. Both of them were at the half-step ascended realm and their inner strength surged like lightning, causing the wind to howl around them. The invisible pressure they gave off was comparable to the first guard of the Guanjuan Palace. A battle between the half-step ascended realm. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan stood next to him as they watched the battle. Shua! Shua! The figures on the stage swayed. Two afterimages swept across the ground and in the air at lightning speed. Their moves collided with each other, causing a loud explosion. Qi waves and strong winds swept across like raging waves. Normal cultivators of the 8th rank of the consolidated realm would be torn to pieces if they came close. Both of them had 2 or 3 low-tier mortal cultivation methods and martial skills, which were equivalent to the legendary saint-grade martial skills in the outside world. Sword howling wind and cloud. The substitute inner disciple, Xia Yundong, stabbed out with his long sword and a gust of wind shot into the sky. The wind was like an invisible blade that enveloped the challenger. At this point in time, the ear-piercing screech of the sword shook the eardrums of the outer disciples of the 8th and 9th ranks. This is the power of someone at the consolidated realm? Deacon Qiu harumphed coldly and an invisible mental energy pressure pressed down like a mountain, causing the hearts of the nearby outer disciples to shake. The 7th sky of the ascended realm, which was above the consolidated realm, was like a mountain that couldn't be climbed, causing the arrogant outer disciples below the stage to tremble like ants. The crowd instantly became silent. The group of outer disciples kept quiet out of fear. They were deeply aware of the strict hierarchy in the world of sections. Under everyone's gazes, the 2 main characters of the day, Ji Fengyun and Zhao Feng, walked onto the stage. One of them, Ji Fengyun, was ranked 13th among the outer disciples and he could be said to be an influential figure. His popularity and prestige were even higher than that of Xia Yundong. There was a small difference between the substitute inner disciples, but it wasn't big. But the difference between 13th and 20th couldn't be ignored. After seeing Xia Dongyun's strength, even Nan Gongfan and Yang Qingshan had lost all confidence in Zhao Feng. Brat named Xiao, I admire your courage. You actually dared to challenge me. Ji Fengyun leisurely stood on the stage, looking indifferent. No one thought that he was arrogant. In front of a cultivator at the half-step ascended realm, a brat at the 8th consolidated realm could finish him off with just a wave of his hand. Furthermore, Zhao Feng's cultivation hadn't even reached the peak 8th consolidated realm yet. Brother Zhao, Yang Qingshan clenched his fists as his heart trembled. He was filled with guilt and helplessness. Zhao Feng had challenged Ji Fengyun because of him. At this moment, seeing Zhao Feng's lonely figure in front of countless mocking gazes, he blamed himself. Nan Gongfan also lowered his head. His dislike and prejudice towards Zhao Feng had turned into smoke at this moment. Thinking back, it was just a joke. Below the stage, some of the new disciples such as Xiao Sun had pity and mockery in their eyes. Even Lu Yu, who had some conflicts with Zhao Feng in the past, couldn't help but have pity in her eyes. Maybe this is the only way he will be willing to walk on the right path and focus on pill making. Yun Mengxiang murmured. On the stage. This is going to be troublesome. Zhao Feng remained calm as he faced the strongest opponent he had ever faced. At this moment, he seemed to feel real pressure. His qi and martial arts inner force surged, squeezing out more of his potential. Brat, how about this? I'll only use one hand. If you can win, then, Ji Fengyun said with a playful tone. Flowing wind stance. Smoking transparent step. With a flicker, Zhao Feng disappeared from Ji Fengyun's sight. Ji Fengyun's voice came to an abrupt stop as he felt a piercing whistle coming from his back. The crowd went into an uproar. Most of them didn't even see Zhao Feng's figure clearly. Soundless and traceless, like the ripples of smoke on the water. Zhao Feng's smoking transparent step had reached the max level and had merged with the flowing wind stance, reaching a whole new level. Chapter 118. Everyone on and off the stage was shocked by this sudden turn of events, causing their hearts to jump. No one would have thought that Xiao Feng would suddenly attack. A youth at the 8th rank of the Consolidated Realm could display such speed and skill. Smoking Transparent Step was a half-mortal skill and Xiao Feng had unknowingly trained it to the max level. Even amongst the outer disciples of the Broken Moon clan, there weren't many who could train a half-mortal skill to the max level. Furthermore, after merging with the Flowing Wind stance, this half-mortal skill had risen by half a level. Even Ji Fengyun jumped up in fright. Before he could finish speaking, Xiao Feng had already closed in on him from behind. Star Finger. Zhao Feng's fingertip spat out a beam of light that seemed to form an invisible tornado that enveloped Ji Fengyun. Windmill Destruction. Ji Fengyun let out a yell as a blue inner strength burst out from his body like a windmill. It brought with it a domineering force as it charged out from his body towards his surroundings. Pang! The dull rumble was accompanied by the shattering of the air waves. It was a frightening scene. The spectators held their breaths as they stared at this moment. In the aftermath of the shattered chi, a figure was as steady as Mount Tai, like a tyrant, awe-inspiring. Peng, the other youth's figure flipped in the air and he was sent flying tens of yards before landing on the ground. What terrifying inner strength! Xiao Feng landed on the ground, his blood boiling and shock in his eyes. Although he had held back his star finger and tornado stance, Ji Fengyun's strength had exceeded his expectations. The inner strength of someone at the half-step ascended realm was much stronger than those at the 9th rank of the Consolidated Realm. At the same time, it was more condensed. In terms of quantity and density, those at the half-step ascended realm far surpassed those at the 9th rank of the Consolidated Realm. Furthermore, Xiao Feng was only at the 8th rank of the Consolidated Realm. If it wasn't for the fact that his silver wall technique had been trained to the peak 8th level and his body and defense were strong enough, he would have suffered internal injuries just then. On the challenge stage, Ji Fengyun stood on the spot and laughed coldly. Brat surnamed Xiao, you're slightly stronger than I thought. But if you only have this much strength, you don't even have the qualifications to carry my shoes. Xiao Feng stood 100 feet away. His breathing quickened, and his eyes narrowed. Whoosh, the outer disciples below the stage let out a sigh of relief, but their faces were filled with fear. The clash just now was too fast. Xiao Feng's speed had exceeded everyone's expectations and it had reached the standard of the half-step ascended realm. Xiao Sun, Yun Mengxiang and the others were surprised. Maybe the reason why Xiao Feng dared to challenge Ji Fengyun wasn't because he didn't have any foundation. Just as everyone heaved a sigh of relief, another change occurred on the stage. Gale Shadow Body. Windmill Rolling Clouds. A tyrannical inner strength rotated at high speed, forming a windmill, causing a burst of violent wind. Like a rolling dragon, it instantly charged towards Xiao Feng. In that instant, no one could see Ji Fengyun's figure. He merged the mortal level movement skill Tempest Shadow Body into his main skill Windwheel Transformation. The two low-class mortal movement skills complemented each other. Whether it was speed or offense, they had almost reached the limit of the Consolidated Realm. Perfect fusion of movement and offense. This Ji Fengyun does have the ability to be arrogant. The outer disciples below the stage exclaimed. Under the barrage of attacks, Xiao Feng's figure was like a floating leaf, so tiny that he was instantly engulfed by the barrage of attacks. Silver Wall Suppressing River. Under the violent impact that was like a long river, a silhouette glowing with a silver luster stood in place like an iron wall. In the first round of attacks, Ji Fengyun wasn't able to break through Xiao Feng's defense and strength. Silver Wall technique was one of the best low-class mortal skills and Xiao Feng's returning breath technique had also increased his inner strength. Not only that, his returning breath technique also had the ability to assimilate other inner strengths. Of course, the difference in cultivation between the two was hard to make up for. If Xiao Feng only focused on defense, he would be suppressed by Ji Fengyun's speed and offense sooner or later. Windmill Rolling Cloud. Ji Fengyun's attack had only lasted for half of its duration, but it had already slightly shaken Xiao Feng's figure. Silver air barrier. A half-transparent silver barrier appeared on Zhao Feng's body, giving off a heavy pressure. With a muffled sound, the silver air barrier shook, showing signs of instability, but it still managed to block Ji Fengyun's windmill rolling cloud. Ji Fengyun had taken the initiative to attack, but he didn't expect that Zhao Feng would be easily suppressed. Flowing wind stance. Tornado stance. One star finger. Zhao Feng's figure moved as he instantly counterattacked, using both flowing wind stance and tornado stance. Flowing wind stance borrowed the power of the wind to counter Ji Fengyun's movement skill. Tornado stance had used 70 to 80% of its power, 20% more than last time. But the most terrifying thing was still one star finger. This time, Zhao Feng had used star finger to the highest 7th level. The instant the finger tore through the sky, an ear-piercing howl resounded like a shooting star, and it fused with the profundities of the tornado style, causing the might of the wind explosion to increase greatly. Pew! Zhao Feng's finger had directly pierced through Ji Fengyun's inner strength, causing the latter's expression to change as he furiously roared and retreated. This was the first time that Zhao Feng had forced Ji Fengyun to retreat. Ji Fengyun has been pushed back. Such a change had alarmed all the outer court disciples present. Ji Fengyun forcefully circulated his inner strength as he retreated, trying to turn the situation around. But this also caused his speed to slow down, revealing an opening. Zhao Feng's left eye was extremely sharp, activating star finger to the max level. His finger flashed like a meteor, stunning and beautiful. At this moment, Star Finger had reached an unprecedented peak in both attack and speed. Star Finger was one of the best finger skills in the Cloud Country. Its power was comparable to a half-mortal rank skill, and those who trained it to the 7th level could easily defeat those of the 9th rank of the martial path. Although this was limited to outside countries and not suitable for sex, it still reflected the power of this finger skill. Furthermore, Zhao Feng had perfectly merged Tornado Stance into Star Finger, raising its power to a whole new level. Tornado Stance. Star Finger. Zhao Feng took this chance to attack Ji Fengyun's opening. While chasing, Zhao Feng had used the profundity of Tornado Stance to the maximum, and his Star Finger's attacks had also become fiercer. This brat still has some strength left. Ji Fengyun was furious, but not only did he not turn the situation around, he was even being suppressed. He had been pushed back by Zhao Feng's attacks, so he was unwilling to retreat. He wanted to use his cultivation to turn the situation around. But unexpectedly, Zhao Feng's attacks had become fiercer, and he had found many openings on his body. Dang! 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 On the stage, Ji Fengyun's figure was pushed back by Zhao Feng's attacks. This scene caused the outer disciples below the ring to stare with their mouths agape. What's going on? Ji Fengyun is being suppressed. Everyone looked at Ji Fengyun, who was being pushed back. Not only were the outer disciples surprised, but even Deacon Qiu, who was in charge of judging, had a strange look in his eyes. The new outer disciples such as Xiao Sun, Yun Mengxiang, and Lu Yu were all stunned, as if they had been petrified. Of course, Ji Fengyun was a substitute inner disciple, and he was ranked 13th. How could he be suppressed by a youth at the 8th rank of the Consolidated Realm? Windmill explosion. Ji Fengyun's body surged with a powerful wave of inner qi, which crazily rotated and compressed before exploding. Boom! A loud explosion erupted on the stage. The violent shockwave was like a whirlpool, enveloping a radius of 10 to 20 meters. The black rock, which was several times harder than ordinary steel, left behind a shallow pit, and there were also potholes nearby. The two figures were forcefully separated by the explosion of inner qi. Tang! Zhao Feng's body flipped several times in the air, his blood boiling as he landed on the ground. In the distance, Ji Fengyun's figure stabilized on the ground as his chest heaved up and down. There were a few holes on his clothes, which made him look slightly haggard. The battle that he had treated as a joke had become so intense and troublesome. This was something that he had never expected at the start of the battle. This brat's battle power is so terrifying. It looks like not only did Ji Fengyun not gain the upper hand, he even suffered a bit. The crowd discussed amongst themselves. No. One of the disciples at the half-step ascended realm said solemnly, even if Xiao Feng's speed and offense are strong enough to fight against those at the half-step ascended realm, how can he not be injured in such a clash? Unless. The one who spoke was the substitute inner disciple, Xia Dongyun, who had been challenged in the first round. Hearing his words, many people realized this as well. Unless. Xiao Feng's body strengthening technique has reached a level where he can fight against those in the 9th rank. Wang Yang, who had been challenged in the first round, said. Definitely. He mainly cultivates a mortal rank body tempering cultivation method, and his cultivation base is probably close to Hou Yuan, who's ranked 4th in the outer court. This gives him a strong foundation that allows him to fight against a half-step mortal shedding stage without sustaining any injuries. Xia Dongyun said with certainty. The words of the two at the half-step ascended realm revealed one of the foundations of Xiao Feng's strength. Normally, body strengthening techniques became more difficult the further one progressed, let alone a mortal body strengthening technique. In the outer disciple, it was extremely rare to find a disciple who could cultivate a mortal body strengthening technique to the point where his body could fight against those in the 9th rank. Of the top 20 outer disciples, there were no more than 3. Amongst them, Hou Yuan, who was ranked 4th, was the strongest. With just his body alone, he could suppress those in the 9th rank and fight against those at the peak of the 9th rank. Brat Zhao, that's enough. I've only used 70% of my inner force just now. Now, you'll be in for a painful revenge. Ji Fengyun's face flickered as he released an even stronger inner strength from his body. His aura was close to the ascended realm level. Xiao Feng's expression was also solemn. Everyone understood that Ji Fengyun was going to use his true strength. Windmill water splitting palm. A layer of condensed blue inner force surrounded Ji Fengyun's palm. As it spun at a high speed, a low hum could be heard. The instant that palm was thrust out, a chi-chi sound could be heard in the air. In one's vision, it was as if there was a wind hand that could split the sky and split the clouds. My God, he's actually learnt this move. If he hadn't trained his windmill chi manual to the 10th level, it would be hard for him to control this move. Xia Dongyun, who was ranked 20th, was shocked. Chapter 119. Windmill water parting palm. Ji Fengyun's move shocked the outer disciples, showing his strength and foundation as the 13th outer disciple. Under this powerful palm, Zhao Feng felt his chest tighten, as if it was the heat before the storm. 1-star finger. Tornado stance. Zhao Feng squeezed out all the power in his body, pushing star finger and tornado stance to the maximum. He also used all the power of silver wall technique. In an instant, the finger force that was like a bolt of lightning pierced through the void. Amidst the roar of the wind, it rose against the wind. Boom! A palm and a finger met in the huge wind pressure. The two forces intertwined, but there was no instant explosion. Everyone could only see the two on the stage being terrifyingly silent. After half a breath's time, the sound of a strong wave breaking through the void, creating a ravine. Boom! Zhao Feng's figure was pushed back tens of yards and his face was pale, but he returned to normal the moment he landed on the ground. That exchange just then almost made him spit out blood. He didn't expect that a mortal skill at the peak of the max level could have such power in the hands of someone at the half-step ascended realm. Zhao Feng took in a deep breath. Even if he won today, he couldn't deny that this was an intense battle. Up until now, he and Ji Fengyun had suffered some light injuries and some of their clothes were torn. Whether it was the previous windmill explosion or the current windmill water splitting palm, they were both extremely powerful moves. Windmill water parting palm. Ji Fengyun continued to attack. This move of his could be used continuously, which allowed him to pour the inner strength of the windmill into his palm. Partial wind stance. Star finger. Zhao Feng's attacking style suddenly changed and the finger power that shot through the air turned into a dangerous arc. Partial wind stance was the third stance of the 4 wind stances and it mainly focused on offense. That day, Zhao Feng's star finger hadn't even reached the 7th level and he hadn't fully comprehended the partial wind stance, but he was able to easily defeat Qin Feng. Now that both the partial wind stance and star finger had reached the max level, they could threaten those at the half-step ascended realm. Boom! Puff! Swoosh! Zhao Feng's attack was as sharp as an awl. It tore through the air and clashed with the windwheel water parting palm. Chi! Combining the partial wind stance, star finger would occasionally slice through Ji Fengyun's windmill water divisible palm. Ji Fengyun was extremely shocked and started to attack even more ferociously. In terms of offense, star finger, which was infused with partial wind style, surpassed even his windmill water parting palm. But the windmill water palm was a continuous attack. Although it wasn't as good as star finger, its continuous power was a level higher. Adding on the advantage of Ji Fengyun's cultivation, the effect was obvious. Puff! 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 Zhao Feng's attacks could cut through the windmill water divide palm from time to time, but he couldn't truly break this move. This move had Ji Fengyun's powerful inner strength at the half-step ascended realm backing it up. If one were to say that Zhao Feng's attack was like an arrow shot out from a bow, instantly powerful, then Ji Fengyun's move was like a chainsaw, continuously cutting. Zhao Feng used flowing wind stance, partial wind stance and star finger to fight against Ji Fengyun for a long time, but he couldn't win. On the other side, cold sweat appeared on Ji Fengyun's forehead. The windmill water divisible palm was his strongest killing move and it countered Zhao Feng's star finger. It wasn't that he didn't have any other powerful moves, but when he faced star finger, which had a powerful single target attack, it was useless. Only this windmill water divisible palm had both offense and defense. It had a strong continuous power and almost no flaws. Looking at the two who were in a long battle, the outer disciples were shocked. No matter who won or lost, this battle was definitely a dark horse. Zhao Feng's display of strength shocked many outer disciples. Xia Dongyun and Wang Yang, who were in the first round, looked at each other in shock. If any one of them had been in Zhao Feng's place, they would have been defeated. This was especially so for Zhao Feng's partial wind stance and star finger. It could definitely be ranked in the top 10 of the outer disciples. From the current situation, it seemed that Zhao Feng and Ji Fengyun were evenly matched. As for who would win, it would depend on how long they could last. Both of their moves use up a lot of their inner strength. But Ji Fengyun is at the half-step ascended realm, so he'll definitely win. Wang Yang analyzed. The outer disciples discussed amongst themselves and they all leaned towards Ji Fengyun. Why is this guy's inner strength so strong? Ji Fengyun, who was on the stage, wasn't optimistic and he was extremely shocked. If it was a normal youth of the 8th rank, they would be exhausted after using such a move. Zhao Feng's returning breath technique gave him double the inner strength of those of the same rank and at the same time, silver wall technique gave him a stronger foundation. According to Zhao Feng's left eye's analysis, if this continued, the odds of winning would be 50-50. From this, one could see that Ji Fengyun's true strength had exceeded Zhao Feng's expectations. If he challenged a lower-ranked inner disciple, such as Xia Dongyun, he would definitely win. But the difference between the 13th and 20th ranks wasn't small. Facing the 50-50 chance of winning, Zhao Feng wasn't willing to give up. As he fought, his gaze swept across Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan. Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan were both dazed and their hearts were in their throats. Apart from being surprised, the two felt ashamed. As senior brothers, they had underestimated their own junior brother. From the strength that Zhao Feng had displayed, he definitely had the right to challenge a substitute inner disciple. What kind of monster is this Zhao Feng? His battle strength is also terrifying. Princess Yunmengxiang took in a cold breath. Only now did she realize that Zhao Feng's talent in battle and martial arts wasn't any weaker than his pill-making. The two on the stage were in a tough battle. Ji Fengyun cried bitterly in his heart. Even if he won this battle, it would be extremely embarrassing. What if it ended in a draw? How would he be able to face anyone? Zhao Feng's left eye slowly opened as he analyzed the strengths and weaknesses of both sides. Sometimes, having a strong attack doesn't mean that you'll win. Different skills have different characteristics and styles, so there's a balance between them. Zhao Feng seemed to have understood something. At this moment, an azure glow appeared in Zhao Feng's left eye. Let's end this. Zhao Feng's figure suddenly leapt into the air and his attacking style changed. Mysterious wind palm. Tornado stance. A faint azure ball of wind condensed on Zhao Feng's palm and it spun sharply, causing the surrounding wind to rip apart and condense. That move of his seemed slow, but it was actually extremely fast, and it seemed to coincide with the surroundings. Not only was it his own strength, but it also seemed to borrow the power of the environment. When the instant Zhao Feng slashed out, the azure glow on his palm started to spin and the surrounding wind started to become more and more violent. It was like a whirlpool in the middle of a river, devouring everything in its path. That move, the expression of Deacon Qiu, who was hosting the battle, changed slightly. The mysterious wind palm that Zhao Feng had used came from the girl in the Blood Python Canyon. Now, he had already comprehended the essence of this move and merged it into the tornado stance. Why didn't he merge the third stance, partial wind stance? Because Zhao Feng knew that the style of the tornado stance was more suitable for the mysterious wind palm, so it was easier to merge it in. Furthermore, the merging of these two stances was a powerful continuous attack that could be used to deal with Ji Fengyun's killing move. Windmill water splitting palm. Mysterious wind palm. Tornado stance. Two palm energies with similar styles rotated at high speed and intertwined with each other. In that instant, the black rock under his feet turned into black powder and the dust covered tens of feet. In the midst of the black smoke, the windmill palm and tornado palm clashed together. At the start, Zhao Feng's mysterious wind palm slightly trembled before it started to devour and slash at Ji Fengyun. What? What kind of weird move is this? Ji Fengyun's expression changed and he had difficulty breathing, as if he was in the middle of a whirlpool. Boom! Ji Fengyun's defense was broken and his heart skipped a beat. In the next instant, Ji Fengyun's windmill water-splitting palm collapsed as a feeling of being devoured spread from his arm to his entire body. Arg! Ji Fengyun screamed as his bloodied body was sent flying. Everyone took a look and saw over 100 wounds on Ji Fengyun's body, a ghastly sight. There were tens of wounds on Ji Fengyun's face as well. What a terrifying move. The outer disciples could feel their hair standing on end as they inhaled a mouthful of cold air. Although Ji Fengyun didn't suffer any heavy injuries from this move, the bloody gashes on his body caused everyone to shiver. That move is similar to our sect's heavenly wind god technique. Deacon Qiu muttered to himself with a surprised look on his face. On the stage, the two faced each other. Although Ji Fengyun had lost in that move, his injuries weren't heavy and he could still fight. Mysterious wind palm. Tornado stance. Zhao Feng took a deep breath as an azure glow appeared on his palm. The piercing aura caused the hearts of the crowd to tremble as they revealed expressions of fear. I admit defeat. Ji Fengyun shuddered as the hundreds of wounds on his body warned him of how terrifying that move was. If Zhao Feng's attack had been just a little more powerful, his entire body would have been sliced into 1,000 pieces. Admit defeat. The hearts of the crowd shook, but they weren't surprised by Ji Fengyun's decision. Looking at Ji Fengyun's disfigured face and the hundreds of wounds on his body, the crowd couldn't help but shiver in fear. This challenge goes to Zhao Feng. The winner, Zhao Feng, will become a substitute inner disciple, replacing the loser. Deacon Chio's voice echoed across the stage. At this moment, the outer disciples finally recovered from their shock, and their hearts were filled with lingering fear. Zhao Feng stood on the stage as he coldly scanned the crowd. Ah! The outer disciples led by Chen Feng felt their legs turn to jelly. They were scared out of their wits. There were two reasons why Zhao Feng had challenged Ji Fengyun. One was to establish his position in the outer disciples, and the other was to establish his prestige. From the looks of it, the effect was better than he had expected. The outer disciples were looking at him with fear in their eyes. The bloodied and disfigured Ji Fengyun was a living example. Chapter 120. In a building a few hundred yards away from the arena. Damn it! Lord Guanzhuan's disciple dares to show off in the outer disciples. How can this happen? Quan Chen's face was filled with unwillingness as he slammed his hand down, causing the building below to tremble and almost collapse. Next to him was Ho Yuan, who was ranked 4th. The two watched the entire battle between Zhao Feng and Ji Fengyun. They thought that this would be a good show, but they didn't expect to see such a scene. This challenge turned out to be a huge dark horse. A new youth at the 8th rank of the Consolidated Realm had successfully challenged Ji Fengyun, who was ranked 13th and became the only substitute inner disciple whose cultivation was below the 9th rank. This brat is stronger than I thought, but he won't last more than 10 moves against me. Ho Yuan's eyes coldly stared at Zhao Feng. Quan Chen didn't doubt his words at all. The top 20 of the outer disciples and those below the top 10 were still considered normal, half-step ascended realm. After entering the top 10, they started to deviate from normal. This was especially so for the top few outer disciples. They were all giants and each of them had the ability to challenge a transcending mortality stage cultivator. For example, Ho Yuan had once challenged a cultivator at the first sky of the ascended realm. Rumor had it that the maniac who was ranked number 1 in the outer sect had defeated a transcending mortality stage powerhouse with his half-step transcending mortality stage cultivation base. Schwa. Unknowingly a figure appeared behind the two. Vice Deacon Wang. Quan Chen and Ho Yuan bowed. Deacons had to be at least at the 4th or 5th sky of the ascended realm in the clan. Of course, deacons like Lord Guanzhuan didn't have much power in the clan. As long as they were at the ascended realm, they would be qualified. This Zhao Feng sure is surprising. Vice Deacon Wang was slightly surprised, but a faint smile appeared on his lips. In the sect, especially in the outer hall, it had been a long time since he had seen such a talented fighter. Vice Deacon Wang, you should know that this guy is the disciple of Lord Guanzhuan Su Ran, but why? Quan Chen complained. This Vice Deacon Wang had a bit of a relationship with Hai Yun Master. It was just that after Hai Yun Master reached the upper echelons of the sect, their relationship became more distant. Zhao Feng is just a low-grade spiritual body cultivator. Although he is strong, his future achievements will be limited. Could it be that he would threaten an inner sect disciple like you, a high and mighty sect elder? If they were to offend two Vice Hall Masters at the same time for this insignificant character, it would be a loss that outweighed the gains. Even your master, Hai Yun Daoist, would have to think twice. Deputy Deacon Wang said noncommittally. Two Vice Hall Masters? You mean? Quan Chen's expression changed. In truth, even he had been stunned by Zhao Feng's performance on the stage, and his hairs stood on end. He had to admit that Zhao Feng had succeeded in establishing his dominance. It could be imagined that not many people would dare to offend him in the future. Humph. You've let him succeed again. Lu Yu lightly harumphed and her expression was slightly angry. But in her heart, she also felt a sense of joy. From the point of view of the outer disciples, Zhao Feng had turned defeat into victory, and had indeed helped them vent some of their anger. After the crowd left, Zhao Feng smiled and greeted his two senior brothers. Yang Qingshan and Nangong Fa looked at this junior brother with complicated feelings. Apart from the guilt in their hearts, there was also gratitude. That Ji Fengyun probably won't do anything to you after losing. Zhao Feng smiled and said to Yang Qingshan. After becoming a substitute inner disciple, Zhao Feng moved out of the living quarters of a normal outer disciple. In the outer disciples, substitute inner disciples received special treatment. They had their own buildings and had more freedom. They also received more resources from the clan. For example, an ordinary outer sect disciple would only receive one substandard crystal stone as a salary every month. As for the rest of the low-grade spirit pills, they would only receive 1 or 2. But after becoming a substitute inner disciple, the treatment they received was 3 times that. Apart from that, there were other special privileges as well. After reorganizing, Zhao Feng returned to the Grasswood division. At the same time, Old Man Guan was busy making pellets. He asked one of his apprentices to reply to him. Old Man Guan said that you can have a day off. One of the apprentices said. A day off? Zhao Feng was a bit surprised. He then realized that Old Man Guan must have thought that he had lost the challenge and was injured badly, so he decided to give him a day off. Old Man Guan also asked me to give you these things. The apprentice handed him a few things. Blood healing pill. Bone healing pill. Waning moon healing pill. Zhao Feng had a weird look on his face. Old Man Guan thought that he had been beaten miserably on the stage. Blood healing pill and bone healing ointment were both precious pills. They were hard to find in the mortal world. Blood healing pill could heal internal injuries. As long as the injury wasn't too serious, it could heal quickly. The bone replenishing pill could reconnect broken bones and heal them quickly. And this marrow cleansing pill. The apprentice handed Zhao Feng another pill with envy. Marrow cleansing pill. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. He had heard about the miraculous effects of this pill. The marrow cleansing pill could cleanse one's marrow and bones. It could improve one's body and its effects were miraculous. This pill wasn't used to refine one's body, but it had a great effect on a cultivator's overall quality. Zhao Feng had even heard that the marrow cleansing pill could help a cultivator reach the ascended realm. Zhao Feng took the marrow cleansing pill and was a little excited. Old Man Guan was willing to give him such a precious pill. Even the substitute inner disciples would find it hard to get a marrow cleansing pill. Disciples at the half-step ascended realm would have a 20% higher chance of reaching the ascended realm if they took the marrow cleansing pill. On the same day, Zhao Feng returned to his house and immediately took the marrow cleansing pill. The effect of the marrow cleansing pill was relatively gentle. It slowly seeped into his flesh and bones, cleansing his organs. The whole process was like boiling soup, simmering slowly over a small fire. Of course, this was only for Zhao Feng, who had reached the peak of the 8th level of the silver wall technique. Zhao Feng practiced a mortal body tempering art, so his body was extremely strong and he had endured many powerful pills. If the marrow cleansing pill was used on normal people, its effect wouldn't be gentle. Zhao Feng circulated the returning breath technique and silver wall technique at the same time to absorb the effect of the pill. The effect of the pill was released faster and a warm feeling brought with it a slight numbness. Zhao Feng could faintly feel that his body was being improved by the effect of the marrow cleansing pill. He focused and felt his left eye twitch. Thump thump. Thump thump. Thump thump. The twitching in his left eye became more obvious and a strange warmth spread throughout his body, merging with the effect of the marrow cleansing pill. The mysterious left eye indeed has the effect of improving the body. Zhao Feng was even more certain of his guess. When he had first arrived at the Zhao family, his talent and comprehension had been average in all aspects. But after merging with the mysterious left eye, everything started to change. His originally mediocre body underwent a transformation as a result. If this eye came from an ancient god, how could it contain a normal body? Of course. Before it recovered to its peak, it would change the environment it was in to adapt to the future when it became the ruler of the world again. Thump thump. Thump thump. Thump thump, Zhao Feng felt that the aura coming from his left eye was stronger than before. The effect of the marrow cleansing pill was several times stronger than before. In just half an hour, a layer of smelly liquid came out from Zhao Feng's body. The faint azure light in the dimension of his left eye had reached 8 feet 4.5 feet. Zhao Feng felt that his mental energy had increased and he felt like he had been reborn. At this moment, only a quarter of the effect of the marrow cleansing pill had been digested. Chapter 121. Because of his left eye, the effect of the marrow cleansing pill on Zhao Feng was much better than he had imagined. When a normal person took the marrow cleansing pill, they would at most expel the mucus once, but Zhao Feng expelled it 3 times. Zhao Feng was sure that the mysterious left eye could change his body just like the marrow cleansing pill, but the former was a slow process. At this moment, the mysterious left eye's ability combined with the marrow cleansing pill, not only did it unleash the power of the pill, it also changed his body beyond the limit of the pill. His body expelled the impurities 3 times. The first time was the thickest and smelliest, and the next 2 times, the smell became lighter. When he expelled the impurities for the second time, Zhao Feng felt that his silver wall technique had reached the peak of the 8th level, almost reaching the 9th level. The increase in his body's quality provided him with a strong foundation and motivation for body tempering. Using this chance, Zhao Feng started to cultivate the silver wall technique to the fullest. Finally, when he expelled the impurities for the 3rd time, Zhao Feng's silver wall technique reached the 9th level. Zhao Feng was overjoyed. Reaching the 9th level of the silver wall technique was much faster than he had imagined. This was indeed a clan. The resources and opportunities here far exceeded those in other countries. A vice hall master casually gave him a medicinal pill, and it gave him the effect of being reborn. The higher the level of body tempering skills, the slower it was to progress. After reaching the 8th level of the silver wall technique, it was several times harder to progress compared to other mortal skills. This was also why there were so few outer disciples who chose body tempering skills as their main cultivation. Among the outer disciples, only Ho Yuan can compete with me in body tempering skills. A smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face as his confidence increased. At the same time, he was looking forward to the next 2 levels of the silver wall technique. There were 11 levels to the silver wall technique. After reaching the 10th level, one's body would reach the ascended realm. The 11th level, perfect body, indestructible in furnace, indestructible in body refinement. Now that Zhao Feng had broken through to the 9th level, just based on his physical strength alone, he was already stronger than a normal 9th level solid realm expert. From his flesh to his bones to his meridians and internal organs, Zhao Feng's body was powerful from the outside to the inside. His bodily functions far surpassed those of ordinary people, far surpassing those of the same realm. Zhao Feng closed his eyes and the faint green light in the dimension of his left eye extended to 8 feet, 8 feet, 9 feet. With the help of the marrow cleansing pill, his cultivation had basically reached the peak of the 8th level of the consolidated stage. After sitting cross-legged for 2 hours, Zhao Feng slowly got up and let out a long breath. Outside the courtyard, the sun had risen. Zhao Feng stood up and headed to the herbal hall. On the way, he purposely went to where Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan were working. Yang Qingshan was currently applying fertilizer and watering. His work was much easier than before. Junior brother Zhao, ever since you established your dominance in the outer sect, these outer sect disciples have become much more restrained. Yang Qingshan smiled. Even though Yang Qingshan had to work hard every day, at least no one dared to scold or bully him. Zhao Feng nodded and went to where Nan Gongfan was working. He's here. Chen Feng saw Zhao Feng from afar and he shivered. Ever since Zhao Feng defeated Ji Fengyun and became a substitute inner disciple, Chen Feng was filled with fear towards him. Zhao Feng purposely walked over and said a few words to Nan Gongfan. It's all thanks to junior brother Zhao. Although I'm tired now, no one dares to bully me. Nan Gongfan said gratefully as he patted Xiao Feng's shoulder. After seeing the two, Xiao Feng let out a breath. Soon, he saw Old Guan in the herbal hall. How did you feel yesterday? Old Man Guan said with a smile. Xiao Feng paused for a second before replying, Old Guan, the marrow cleansing pill was too good. After saying this, he thanked Old Guan from the bottom of his heart. The marrow cleansing pill was too expensive and it was a dream item for cultivators below the ascended realm. What marrow cleansing pill? I'm asking you how you felt when you challenged the substitute inner disciple. Old Man Guan rolled his eyes. As one of the top pill makers in the clan, the marrow cleansing pill was nothing to Old Man Guan. Ah! Xiao Feng suddenly realized that Old Man Guan didn't know that he had one. The substitute inner disciple was much stronger than I expected. If I was careless, I might have lost, Xiao Feng said in a roundabout way. Old Man Guan nodded his head, but his expression suddenly changed. Wait. What do you mean? You didn't lose? Yun Mengxiang and the other outer disciples can testify for me. Xiao Feng gave a faint smile. Although Yun Mengxiang knew the truth, she didn't dare to tell Old Man Guan about it. After all, Old Man Guan wanted to use this to knock Xiao Feng down and make him focus on pill making. Old Man Guan didn't believe it, so he called Yun Mengxiang over. Under the vice-head's aggressive gaze, Yun Mengxiang said weakly, Brother Zhao did win by a narrow margin yesterday. He beat the substitute inner disciple Ji Fengyun. Narrow margin. Old Man Guan felt a little better, but he was still surprised. He knew how strong a substitute inner disciple was. Each of them was at the half-step ascended realm. What's the rank of that substitute inner disciple? Old Man Guan asked casually. 13th. Yun Mengxiang said carefully, afraid that she would be drowned by Old Man Guan's anger. What? 13th. Old Man Guan's jaw almost dropped to the ground. He stared at Xiao Feng as if he was looking at a monster. If he had only beaten the substitute inner disciple who was ranked 20th, it could be attributed to luck. However, the opponent that Xiao Feng had defeated was ranked 13th. Knowing the truth, Old Man Guan was half happy and half worried. Old Man Guan admitted defeat on this matter, so he didn't think too much about it. Next, he gave Xiao Feng some tasks. This time, Old Man Guan gave Xiao Feng some basic pill-making books. Although these books were also basic pill-making, they were much more difficult than the basic understanding of pill-making. Each of them was at least as difficult as Fire Heart Sutra. Apart from that, Old Man Guan also allowed Xiao Feng to watch him make pills. Some pill makers had their own methods, and other than disciples and servants, they wouldn't let anyone else watch. Old Man Guan was one of the best pill makers in the clan. Old Man Guan treated Xiao Feng like a disciple. Yun Yao also allowed Xiao Feng to watch her make pills to show her goodwill. That's good too. I have a few important pills that the clan asked me to make, so I can't leave. Old Man Guan nodded his head, thinking that he owed Yun Yao a favor. Just like that, Xiao Feng started to learn about pill making. In the next few days, he spent most of his time watching the process of making pills. The pills that pill master Yun Yao refined were relatively simple. On one hand, her pill-making skills weren't as good as Old Man Guan's. On the other hand, she had been teaching Princess Yun Mengxiang. Xiao Feng got to spend time with Yun Mengxiang every day, learning how to make pills. Sometimes, he could even try it out in front of the furnace. When Yun Yao was making pills, she would occasionally explain. When they were learning, Yun Mengxiang would often ask questions. Xiao Feng kept silent most of the time and rarely asked questions. Yun Yao was also secretly watching Xiao Feng. She found that when she was putting in the ingredients, controlling the fire, and opening the furnace, Xiao Feng was paying attention to her. Although Xiao Feng didn't ask many questions, he always hit the nail on the head. During the day, Xiao Feng would watch Yun Yao make pills, and he would also watch Old Man Guan make pills. Old Man Guan's method was a bit more complicated, and it was dazzling to watch. However, no matter how complicated the method was, under Zhao Feng's left eye, there was no secret to it. In comparison, Zhao Feng liked to watch Yun Yao make pills. The process was simple, easy to understand, and easy to learn. During the day, Zhao Feng learned how to make pills, and at night, he didn't stop cultivating. If he spent a long time in the pill refining room, if he was lucky, he would be able to get 1 or 2 low-tier pills. This was something that cultivators at the body consolidation realm couldn't even dream of. 4 to 5 days later, Yun Yao started to test Yun Mengxiang and Zhao Feng's progress. Yun Mengxiang could answer most of the questions, but there were still some that she didn't understand. Zhao Feng basically answered everything he knew. Yun Yao sighed in her heart. She couldn't help but admit that Zhao Feng's talent in pill-making far surpassed Yun Mengxiang's. Because of the things she taught her, Yun Mengxiang took longer to learn, and Zhao Feng came a few days later than her. Of course, this didn't mean that Yun Mengxiang's talent in pill-making wasn't good. In reality, Yun Mengxiang's talent in pill-making was better than most of the other alchemists Yun Yao had met. Furthermore, she was diligent and knew how to study. Auntie. Zhao Feng has a photographic memory. In terms of learning ability, how can I compare to him? If we really talk about pill-making, he might not be able to compare to me. Yun Mengxiang wasn't convinced. Hearing this, Yun Yao felt that it made sense. Zhao Feng had a photographic memory and was extremely talented. At least in theory, Yun Mengxiang couldn't compare to him. Even she couldn't compare to him. The next day, in the pill-making room. Today, I'll let the two of you practice pill-making. I won't interfere during the process and I won't give you any hints. Yun Yao said to the two. The pill you'll be refining is the blood-accumulating pill. Even if you fail, it's just a few low-grade ingredients, so you can try it. Hearing that they were going to practice pill-making, Zhao Feng became excited. The blood-accumulating pill was a reward from the Zhao clan's martial gathering. This pill could increase a cultivator's cultivation, but it didn't have much effect on cultivators above the 7th consolidated realm. In the clan, this pill was completely worthless and was only given to disciples to practice with. Zhao Feng couldn't help but sigh. In different worlds, the difference in starting points was too big. Even in the same clan, the difference in starting points between inner and outer disciples was also huge. This made Zhao Feng think of Bai Mua and Sun Yuanhao. They had directly entered the inner clan and become the disciples of an elder, so they had a higher starting point. Inside the pill-making room, Yun Yao put the ingredients away and let the two pill-making apprentices try it out. Sister Yun, you go first. Zhao Feng waved his hand. Yun Mengxiang had a cautious expression as she started to arrange the ingredients, start the fire and control the fire. The key to pill-making was controlling the fire. Whether the fire was high or low, it would affect the effect of the pill-making. Poof! While he was controlling the fire, the flame under the alchemy furnace suddenly went out. Immediately after, the alchemy furnace let out a hum and lightly shook. Ah! Yun Mengxiang exclaimed as her face lost all color. Just as she was about to try and save it, the furnace started to emit a strange smell. It smelled like a fart. Zhao Feng couldn't help but laugh, as if he had seen through what was going on. Yun Mengxiang became angry and her face turned red. What are you laughing at? If you have the ability, try it yourself. Chapter 122. Xiangmeng, don't be rude. You didn't make the pills yourself, how can you drag others into it? Pill Master Yun Yao said in a slightly blaming tone. The moment the words came out of Yun Mengxiang's mouth, she realized that her princess syndrome was acting up again. In the clan, her identity as a princess wasn't very useful. Her father and auntie had warned her time and time again not to offend the experts of the clan because of her bad temper. The current Zhao Feng was the prospective disciple of Elder Guan and Elder Zhang. Whether it was his identity or potential, he wasn't someone that normal pill masters couldn't afford to offend. Perhaps it was because she had gotten closer to Zhao Feng recently, and the latter was quite easygoing, she had almost forgotten about this point. It's fine, it's just senior sister Yun's nature. Zhao Feng smiled faintly and didn't put it to heart. His main focus was on pill making. Ever since he entered the Grasswood division, Zhao Feng had developed an interest in pill making. This interest came from the temptation of spiritual pills. Zhao Feng's thought was that if he could become a pill master, he would be able to be self-sufficient. If he needed any pills, he could make them himself. Firstly, it would help him with his cultivation, and secondly, it would save him a lot of money. Moreover, being an alchemist was indeed a very popular occupation in the world of sections. Martial nephew Zhao, did you notice the mistake in Xiang Meng's pill refining process? Yun Yao purposely wanted to test Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng wasn't afraid of offending Yun Mengxiang, so he said straightforwardly, firstly, it was her first time making pills, so she was too cautious. She was as timid as a mouse, causing the flame to be too small and the temperature wasn't high enough. Secondly, when she was controlling the flame, she made a few mistakes. Adding on to the fact that the flame was too small, the flame was extinguished. Of course, that was only the most obvious mistake. I can't be bothered to talk about the other small mistakes. Hearing this, Yun Mengxiang's face trembled in anger, but she couldn't do anything. If it was anyone else, she would have sent them flying with a kick. As the princess of a country, when had she ever been humiliated like this? You've basically hit the nail on the head. Yun Yao smiled and nodded her head in approval. Yun Mengxiang had no choice but to accept it. Her bright eyes flashed and she smiled like a flower. Xiang Meng is clumsy, I've made a fool of myself in front of junior brother Zhao. Alchemist Zhao, please give me some pointers. I don't deserve to be called Alchemist Zhao. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. Yun Mengxiang was obviously trying to make him fall even more. No apprentice alchemist would be able to successfully refine a pill on their first try. Yun Mengxiang failed, so it was Zhao Feng's turn. In his mind, the scene of pill master Yun Yao demonstrating how to refine the blood accumulation pill appeared. Regarding some aspects of alchemy, such as adding materials, starting a fire, controlling the fire, opening the furnace, etc., Zhao Feng had the opportunity to try them out in the past few days. But it was just a test. To complete all these tasks in one go was no small test. Among the many steps, controlling the fire was the most important. It had to be maintained for a long time, and a slight mistake in the middle could affect the overall situation. The first step was to put in the ingredients. Zhao Feng's left eye slowly opened as he picked out a portion of the ingredients. Even the same ingredients had their own pros and cons. It was affected by humidity, water content and maturity. Zhao Feng chose the most suitable ingredients. These actions were seen by pill master Yun Yao and she couldn't help but nod her head in praise. Just from the first step, Zhao Feng had already surpassed Yun Mengxiang. After choosing the ingredients, Zhao Feng placed them into the furnace in a certain order. Even the positions of the ingredients were carefully chosen. The furnace was not evenly heated. Some places had higher temperatures, while others had lower temperatures. Now, the first step of putting in the ingredients was completed. Zhao Feng didn't miss a single detail. Even if there were some steps that he wasn't sure about, he still remembered the scene of pill master Yun Yao's demonstration. The second step was to start a fire. Although starting a fire seemed simple, it was actually very important. The type, size and temperature of the fire couldn't be wrong. Luckily, the requirement for a low-tier pill like the blood pill wasn't high. Zhao Feng lit up a small piece of black cloud coal and a dark red flame started to spread. The next step was the most important one, controlling the fire. Zhao Feng focused his mind and opened his left eye, circulating his inner strength. His fingers gently moved as he used his inner strength to control the fire. To become a pill master, the minimum requirement was the 7th rank of the consolidated realm, even for a pill disciple. Using inner strength to control and influence flames from a distance, this kind of technique was already the lowest level in alchemy. Those under the 7th rank of the consolidated realm didn't even have inner strength, so how could they control the fire? Zhao Feng's control over the fire was very strong. The flames were evenly distributed on the furnace. As time passed, a faint medicinal fragrance came from the furnace. Zhao Feng would occasionally add in the black cloud coal to control the fire. Although he hadn't practiced controlling the fire much, it was still easy for him to do so. This was because of the accuracy of his left eye, as well as his powerful control over his inner strength. After a full 2 hours, Zhao Feng was still able to easily control the fire. This made Yun Mengxiang's expression change. She never thought that Zhao Feng's inner strength would be so dense. If it was her, she would have already run out of energy. Every strand of inner strength has reached the pinnacle. His control over the fire has reached the pinnacle. Yun Yao exclaimed in her heart. This level of control over the fire was comparable to some old pill masters. At this moment, Yun Yao couldn't help but admire old man Guan's eyesight. Zhao Feng was indeed a genius. The path of alchemy required precise control over the details, especially when it came to controlling the fire. 2 hours later, Zhao Feng's inner strength slowly retracted as the flames under the furnace dimmed. The cauldron was still warm, emitting a medicinal fragrance that was becoming more and more obvious. Zhao Feng took a sniff and found that it was indeed the familiar smell of the blood pill. Because it had just come out of the furnace, it was 10 times stronger. After a while, Zhao Feng pointed in the air. Pa! Steam rose from the top of the alchemy cauldron, and a dozen blood-red pills bounced up. This was the last step, opening the furnace. The opening of the furnace needed to be precise. If it was opened too early, the pill might not have solidified into a pill. If it was opened too late, the pill would expand too much and explode. Under certain circumstances, the energy contained in the pill was too strong and could cause an explosion that would affect the entire pill refinement room, causing a disaster. Shua! Zhao Feng waved his hand and grabbed the tens of blood pills. Let me see the success rate. Yun Yao smiled. Success rate? Zhao Feng was stunned, but he soon remembered the common sense of alchemy. There was a success rate for every furnace of pills. For example, out of 10 pills, 5 would be successful, while the rest would be trash. Zhao Feng handed the pills over to Yun Yao. Don't tell me they're all trash. Yun Mengxiang teased. At this moment, she realized that Yun Yao's face was solemn and her eyes were filled with shock. 13 blood pills, 1 of them is perfect, 4 of them are high quality, 6 of them are normal, and 2 of them are lower quality, but they're all normal. Yun Yao couldn't help taking in a cold breath. If the requirements aren't too high, this is a 100% success rate. A 100% success rate. Yun Mengxiang was stunned and her face was pale, as if she had been frightened. Yun Yao and Yun Mengxiang then looked at Zhao Feng with a weird expression. Is this really your first time refining pills? Yun Yao's face was still filled with shock. That's right. Zhao Feng felt a bit guilty. He didn't think that this would be the result of his precision and control. Receiving the confirmation, Yun Yao and Yun Mengxiang seemed to have been hit by a huge blow. These 13 blood pills were refined by you, so I'll give them to you. Yun Yao gave the pills back to Zhao Feng. And then, there was no more and then. Zhao Feng was kicked out of the room, leaving only Yun Yao and Yun Mengxiang in the room. Aunt, why don't you teach him? I can't teach such a genius. A 100% success rate on his first attempt at alchemy is a miracle in the alchemy world. Yun Yao sighed. How was this possible? Yun Mengxiang was speechless when she heard this. Keep this matter a secret for now. What you need to do right now is to get to know him without offending him, but don't do it on purpose. Yun Yao ordered. After Zhao Feng left the pill refining room, he couldn't help but think. So that's how it is. No matter how good a pill master is, it's hard to guarantee a 100% success rate, even for a pill master. Zhao Feng realized that achieving a 100% success rate on his first try was indeed shocking. It was his first time concocting a pill, so naturally, there was no problem of his standard being too low. Under such circumstances, achieving a 100% success rate was truly incredible. In the next few days, Zhao Feng had a lot of free time. He had basically completed all the tasks that Old Man Guan had given him. During the day, he would read some books on alchemy, and at night, he would cultivate. Zhao Feng's main focus was still on the silver wall technique. However, after reaching the 9th level of the silver wall technique, his progress was getting slower and slower. Under normal circumstances, it would take at least a few years for Zhao Feng to reach the 10th level. Zhao Feng could only hope that one day, Old Man Guan would give him a few pills, or some kind of opportunity. If that didn't work out, he would just have to make some more pills in the future. Time passed quickly. Zhao Feng had been in the sect for half a month. During this time, all the new disciples had made some progress. Shao Sun, Yun Mengxiang, and Lu Yu had improved the fastest. Shao Sun had reached the half-step holy realm. Lu Yu and Yun Mengxiang had both reached the peak of the 9th rank of the consolidated realm. Both of them had reached the peak of the 9th rank from the 8th rank of the consolidated realm in half a month. Such a speed would be a miracle in other countries, but it was only a bit fast in the sect. After all, the 9th rank of the martial path was only the beginning. Yun Mengxiang was one of the better ones. Zhao Feng knew that she had an aunt who was an alchemist, so she had taken at least 4 or 5 kinds of pills like the marrow cleansing pill. As for Lu Yu, she was nowhere to be found in the outer disciples. It was said that Lu Yu had caught the eye of another elder of the sect, and she had become an inner disciple after Bai Mua and Sun Yuanhao. Zhao Feng's 2 disciples, Yang Qingshan had reached the 9th rank, and Nan Gongfan was also half a step into the 9th rank. In comparison, Zhao Feng's cultivation was progressing at a steady pace. His main focus was on the silver wall technique, but he had also reached the 9th rank of the consolidated realm. Chapter 123. In half a month, Zhao Feng had reached the 9th rank of the consolidated realm. He didn't spend much time on cultivation, otherwise he would have reached the peak of the 9th rank. His goal was to reach the 10th level of the silver wall technique. However, he had been staying in the alchemy room of the grasswood division and taking a few Dan beads from time to time. It was hard for him not to make a breakthrough. There is so much competition in the sect. Even the weakest outer sect disciple is a genius from another region. Zhao Feng could feel the fierce competition in the outer sect. If the outer sect was already like this, it was hard to imagine what the situation would be like in the inner sect, where the elite disciples of the sect gathered. Bai Mua, Sun Yuanhao, and Lu Yu had entered the inner sect one after another. Zhao Feng knew that the earlier he entered the inner sect, the greater the advantage he would have. Once he entered the inner sect, he would have the priority to learn more advanced martial arts and get better treatment. Even though he knew all this, Zhao Feng didn't give up his original goal. The body was the foundation of cultivation. He had to build a solid foundation in the 9th rank of the consolidated realm, so that he could build a strong foundation for the future. His goal was to reach the transcending mortality realm and enter the sage realm. Zhao Feng calculated the time and realized that the 10 days he had stayed with Old Man Guan was almost up. According to the agreement, he had to stay with Master Guan and Master Guan for 10 days. During the 10 days in the Grasswood Division, Zhao Feng had learned the basics of alchemy. He could even make Dan beads on his own. Master Guan was very satisfied with him. Every time he mentioned Chen Fan, he would smile from ear to ear. The last day. Master Guan met with Zhao Feng alone. You are very talented in alchemy. You have learned the basics in such a short time and can make Dan beads on your own. In the future, you will be a miracle in the world of alchemy." Complex emotions flashed in Old Man Guan's eyes as he stared at Xiao Feng. Before he left, Master Guan gave Xiao Feng a book of alchemy. This scroll contains not only profound knowledge about alchemy, but also notes left behind by several expert alchemists, myself included. Master Guan gave the holy volume of Dan to Xiao Feng and exhaled deeply, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. Xiao Feng felt the weight of the book in his hand. Other than the holy volume of Dan canon, Old Man Guan also gave Xiao Feng 10 substandard crystal stones and an old alchemy furnace. Old Man Guan had used that cauldron a long time ago. He kept it as a souvenir, but now he gave it to Xiao Feng. When he left Herbal Hall, Xiao Feng had a strange feeling. Why didn't Master Guan mention anything about taking me as his disciple? Or does he want to wait until he has a showdown with old Zhang? Xiao Feng was puzzled, but he did not think too much about it. Returning to the pavilion, Xiao Feng organized the resources in his hands. Up until now, apart from the cauldron that Old Man Guan gave him and some pills, he only had these 10 substandard crystal stones. Primal crystal stones were the currency of the clan. Silver in the mortal world was worthless in the world of the clan. Xiao Feng had heard someone say that 1 million silver could be exchanged for 1 substandard crystal stone. In order to test the effect of the primal crystal stone, Xiao Feng came to the exchange hall of the Broken Moon clan. The exchange hall was restricted to members of the Broken Moon clan and was not open to the public. The moment he stepped into the exchange hall, Xiao Feng's heart trembled uneasily. The figures that came in and out of the exchange hall were all disciples at the 7th sky of the Ascended Realm. There were even deacons and vice heads. Any one of those at the Ascended Realm gave off an aura that made Xiao Feng unable to breathe. Only until this scene did Xiao Feng realize that he was at the bottom of the clan and that he was as small as an ant. There were many stalls in the exchange hall. Every stall had a cellar, and the stone tables in front of them were filled with items. There were weapons, pills, materials, techniques, and of course, there were also things that Xiao Feng didn't recognize. Xiao Feng looked around and found that half-mortal martial arts were sold for 1 substandard crystal stone. There weren't any half-mortal martial arts in the exchange hall, and even if there were, they were special ones. Mortal martial arts were sold more often. Among them, lower-rank mortal martial arts ranged from 10 to 20 pieces. When it reached the middle tier of the mortal realm, the price would increase by dozens or even hundreds of times. It would cost at least hundreds of substandard crystals. Xiao Feng couldn't help but shake his head. He then realized that the marrow cleansing pill he had used was worth 5 substandard crystal stones. All spiritual pills were sold at a high price in the exchange hall. In a sect, cultivation was the key, and spirit pills were naturally a powerful tool to assist in cultivation. Some of the more valuable spiritual pills were even fought over in the exchange hall. As an outer disciple, no one paid attention to Xiao Feng in the exchange hall. Even if he walked to the stall, the seller wouldn't pay attention to him. Spiritual pills are actually so valuable in the clan. No wonder pill refiners have such a high status. He pondered in his heart. Gradually, Xiao Feng had an idea and formed a clear plan to get rich. With Xiao Feng's talent in pill refinement, he only needed to study a little and he would be able to refine decent pills, at least earning some primal crystal stones. Right now, his biggest limitation was that he only had 10 substandard crystal stones. Xiao Feng walked around the hall for a long time and spent 1 substandard crystal stone to buy enough black cloud carbon. Black cloud carbon was the lowest grade of pill fire and was relatively cheap. It could only be used to refine some low-grade pills, and many standard-grade pills couldn't be refined. Pills were different from spiritual pills. Spiritual pills were of a higher grade and standard-grade pills were at least at the Ascended Realm. However, Xiao Feng had limited primal crystal stones and it was already good enough that he could buy black cloud carbon. Next, he started to buy the materials needed for pill refining. The remaining 9 primal crystal stones were all used by Zhao Feng to buy pill refining materials. Currently, the 2 most suitable pills for me are the marrow cleansing pill and the dawn moon breath returning pill. The materials that Zhao Feng chose had a corresponding target. Marrow cleansing pill, needless to say, Zhao Feng had used it before. Even if he couldn't sell it, he could use it himself. Broken Moon Chi returning pill, a unique pill made by the Broken Moon clan's pill masters. It can quickly recover a cultivator's energy and is suitable for disciples below the half-step ascended realm and 3rd sky of the ascended realm. These 2 kinds of pills were both at the pseudo-spirit pill level. They couldn't be considered true spirit pills, but they far surpassed the pills of the mortal world. There were 2 reasons why Zhao Feng chose these 2. Firstly, these 2 spiritual pills weren't hard to create and the materials weren't expensive. Secondly, due to the limitations of cultivation and pill refining, these 2 spiritual pills were the limit of what Zhao Feng could make. Normal true spiritual pills had requirements for their flame and some even needed to be at the ascended realm. After spending all his primal crystal stones, Zhao Feng had basically gathered all the materials he needed. The remaining supplementary materials were cheaper and Zhao Feng could easily get them from the Grasswood Division or Yunmengxiang. After spending all his primal crystal stones, Zhao Feng reluctantly walked out of the exchange hall. Inside the trading hall, there were too many high-level cultivation techniques, materials, and pills that tempted him. Walking out of the exchange hall, the heavy pressure disappeared by half. "Brother Zhao." A familiar youth's voice sounded from the crowd. Zhao Feng's body froze. Among the crowd, an old-fashioned young man wearing a black striped green shirt appeared. He stood in the middle of the road and looked at him with slight surprise. Black striped shirt was the symbol of an inner disciple of the Broken Moon clan. Ordinary outer sect disciples only wore green robes. "Brother Mo," Zhao Feng soon regained his composure and he inspected this person with his left eye. Bei moi. When had he ever been the super genius that Lord Guanjuan placed all his hopes on? Through his left eye, Zhao Feng found that Bei Moi's cultivation was close to Lord Guanjuan's. Lord Guanjuan's cultivation was at the 2nd sky of the ascended realm. This meant that Bei Moi's cultivation was at least at the peak 1st sky of the ascended realm and he might even be half a step into the 2nd sky of the ascended realm. It was hard to imagine that in just a month's time, Bei Moi's cultivation had increased by so much. But when he thought about Bei Moi's talent, which was close to the legendary, heaven and earth, dual spiritual body, and the fact that he was being nurtured by the elders of the sect, everything made sense. "Brother Zhao, we've finally met in the clan, but the difference between us is still the same." Bei Moi's expression was still expressionless. Zhao Feng didn't back down and he looked straight at him. "What's important isn't what's important is how high we can reach in the end." Bei Moi paused slightly, as if he was trying to understand the meaning behind Zhao Feng's words, then he laughed with self-mockery. Maybe he thought that talking about the future with a half-spiritual body was too funny. "Since you've entered the clan, our agreement is still in effect." Bei Moi shook his head and walked towards the exchange hall. "That day won't be far away." Zhao Feng left and he returned to the outer hall division. Meeting Bei Moi was just a small interlude and it made Zhao Feng understand that he had another goal in the clan. Returning to the outer hall division, Zhao Feng went to the Grasswood division and borrowed some materials from Yunmengxiang. Up until now, all the materials needed for the marrow cleansing pill and broken moon breath returning pill had been gathered. "You're going to start refining pills?" Yunmengxiang was slightly surprised. But she immediately felt that her question was useless. Zhao Feng had already gained the ability to refine pills a few days ago. Back at the courtyard, Zhao Feng closed the door and placed the cauldron and the materials away. He couldn't help but take a deep breath. The next step was the key to his development in the clan. If he took this step well, his cultivation would increase by leaps and bounds. But if he failed, he would have to wait at least 10 days to get another 10 substandard primal crystal stones. The first step, adding the materials. Zhao Feng's left eye was fully opened and he entered a supervision interface. In any of his previous attempts, Zhao Feng had never fully opened his left eye. This meant that Zhao Feng's calculations had reached a level of accuracy. That was because he wouldn't allow any mistakes in the details. The materials were successfully added. The second step was to start the fire. He had tried this step many times before, and he had also perfected it. The third step was to control the fire. This was the step that would determine success or failure. He had never seen other alchemists concoct the marrow cleansing pill and the waning moon qi restoration pill. Everything only existed in theory. The flame lit up and slowly expanded. The cauldron let out a "wang" sound, and under the light of the flame, there was an ancient beast carving on the cauldron. Chapter 124. The fire was successfully ignited. Entering the fire control stage, at this moment, Zhao Feng was both excited and nervous. Luckily, he had already activated the power of his left eye and entered the supervision interface. Although it was hot in front of the furnace, his mind was calm. The power of his left eye gave him sharp, precise, and calm control. Therefore, even in the most complicated, fire control stage, Zhao Feng wouldn't make any mistakes, unless it was something that he didn't understand. Time passed slowly. 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, this wasn't the first time that Zhao Feng had made a pill, but he found that it was taking a long time. Before, in the herbal division, the pills that he made were all low-level pills that were suitable for the mortal world, but they were useless in the world of the clan. But this time, the marrow cleansing pill had already reached the semi-spiritual level, which was the highest level pill that Zhao Feng had ever made. 6 to 8 hours later, the fire control stage was coming to an end. Beads of sweat appeared on Zhao Feng's forehead. The time required to make a semi-spiritual pill was much longer than the previous ones. One had to know that 8 hours was almost the limit of his internal force control. 5 hours later, the fire control stage was completed. Zhao Feng was almost out of energy as he sat on the ground. He gathered his last bit of returning origin inner force and lightly tapped the air. Pa! The furnace opened and 4 to 5 thumb-sized pills jumped out. Zhao Feng reached out his hand and took 5 marrow cleansing pills into his hand. The number of pills that appeared each time was related to the amount of materials that were used. With the amount of materials that Zhao Feng had used, he could only make 5 pills at most. The problem now was the success rate. 1 high quality, 1 normal, the other 3, 1 useless and 2 low quality. Zhao Feng scanned through the pills and found out the success rate. Success rate, 40%. To be honest, he was a bit disappointed with this result. One had to know that most of his previous attempts in the alchemy room were 100%, or at least 80%. Of course, Zhao Feng also understood that the success rate of alchemy was related to the grade of the elixir, as well as the cultivation and skill of the alchemist. If an alchemist like Master Guan were to refine the marrow cleansing pill, the success rate would be 100%. This was because the marrow cleansing pill's level was too low for him. It was not worth mentioning. Similarly, for Zhao Feng, who was at the 9th level of the consolidated realm, the marrow cleansing pill was equivalent to challenging someone of a higher level. This was because normally, one would need a half-step transcending mortality stage cultivation base to refine a semi-spiritual pill. Zhao Feng relied on the fact that he cultivated the returning vitality qi manual. His inner force was thick, and his control over his strength was even more precise. He almost didn't waste any excess strength, which was why he broke the rules. Being able to do this was enough to make the alchemists in the herbal wood hall exclaim in admiration. 2 marrow cleansing pills, worth 10 substandard crystal stones. Zhao Feng calculated, and his eyes lit up again. Even though the success rate was not high, he still profited. Because the material cost of refining these marrow cleansing pills was about 4 pieces of substandard crystal stones. The rest of the materials could be used to refine the waning moon qi returning pill. Zhao Feng didn't act rashly. Firstly, he thought that the success rate was too low, and secondly, he felt that his experience and skills were not enough. That day, he took out the Holy Pill Bible that Master Guan had given him before he left. Without saying anything, Zhao Feng imprinted the contents of the Holy Pill Bible into his mind. Then, he started to slowly comprehend it. During the process, Zhao Feng came into contact with the deeper content of alchemy. The notes in the book also gave Zhao Feng a lot of experience. Zhao Feng roughly comprehended the Holy Pill Bible and instantly gained a lot of enlightenment. He couldn't help but sigh. If he had comprehended the Holy Pill Bible earlier, he would have had a higher chance of refining the marrow cleansing pill. It wasn't until late at night that Zhao Feng put away the Holy Pill Bible. From tomorrow onwards, he will go to the Clan Mission Division to learn formations from Master Zhang. Before that, Zhao Feng closed his eyes and started to comprehend the illusion fish picture that had been in his mind for a long time. The illusion fish picture came from the third test. Before this, Zhao Feng didn't have much understanding of the illusion fish picture. Firstly, he focused on the four wind stances. Secondly, he felt that although the illusion fish picture was profound, it seemed to be related to formations and not martial arts. Tonight, after comprehending it, Zhao Feng realized that the illusion fish picture was not as simple as he thought it was. Indeed, the profound changes in the illusion fish picture were related to formations. But after Zhao Feng comprehended it, he realized that some of the changes seemed to follow the laws of nature. The changes in the fish, the intertwining of the colors, the waves of the sea, the shift of the sunlight, these changes in scenery gave people a feeling that they were illusory. All sorts of illusions had deceived people's eyes time and time again. Last time, Zhao Feng was able to count the number and colors of the fish because of the ability of his left eye. His left eye seemed to have an innate ability that could see through illusions. With its powerful insight and precision, Zhao Feng had successfully reached the seventh transformation of the illusion fish picture. But being able to count the fish didn't mean that Zhao Feng had comprehended the concept within. It only meant that he wasn't deceived by the illusions brought about by the changes in the picture. Changes, illusory and real, illusions. Zhao Feng had gained something from the illusion fish picture. That night, he had basically comprehended the concepts contained in the first two transformations of the illusion fish picture. He realized that the concept of the illusion fish picture could be used in martial arts. It allowed his attacks, footwork, and all of his actions to be filled with changes. It was hard to determine what was real and what was fake, and it could even create illusions in the eyes of his enemies. Amazing! Zhao Feng gave it a try and felt that the star finger and smoking transparent step that he had learnt before had been given life to them. There were countless changes and they weren't restricted to the original moves. Just a few tries later, Zhao Feng's star finger and smoking transparent step had both surpassed the limits of their original martial arts and had reached the max level. The so-called max level meant that to a certain extent, one had surpassed the limits of a skill and reached a higher level than what the creator of the skill had expected. The next morning, Zhao Feng woke up and went to the Clan Mission Division to report. The Clan Mission Division was a relatively complicated structure. It was in charge of all the arrays in the clan as well as some of the small matters of the clan. In the Clan Mission Division, Zhao Feng saw a familiar person. It was Xiao Sun from the Cloud Country's #1 hidden family. When Xiao Sun first entered the clan, he was already at the 9th stage of the Consolidated Realm, surpassing all the newcomers. Now, half a month had passed and Xiao Sun had reached the half-step Ascended Realm, still far ahead of the others. Zhao Feng understood that Xiao Sun came from the country's #1 hidden family and had some connections within the clan. His talent was also not bad and he had many advantages, far surpassing the other newcomers. Brother Zhao, you've been living a good life recently. Old man Guan thinks highly of you and Princess Yunmengxiang. You're really enviable. Xiao Sun took the initiative to speak with a slightly sour tone. Zhao Feng caught a flash of jealousy and unwillingness in his eyes. When he first entered the clan, Xiao Sun and Yun Mengxiang were close. The two were a perfect match. One came from the country's #1 hidden family and the other was the country's princess. But as Zhao Feng established himself in the outer disciples and became a substitute inner disciple, Old Man Guan placed great importance on him and Princess Yun Mengxiang became closer to him than Xiao Sunday. No matter how good my life is in the outer disciples, it can't be compared to brother Zhao's. Maybe it won't be long before I enter the inner disciples. Zhao Feng said humbly, but his words were filled with probing. His words hit the nail on the head, causing Xiao Sun to feel a little proud of himself. Thanks for your good intentions. However, before I enter the inner court, I still want to meet the top figures amongst the substitute inner court disciples. Brother Zhao, you're ranked 13th and I also want to spar with you. Xiao Sun let out a soft laugh and left after finishing his sentence. Challenge me? Zhao Feng shook his head and didn't put it to heart. Even though he knew that Xiao Sun had become a substitute inner disciple and was ranked 16th a few days ago. His cultivation had reached the 9th rank and his silver wall technique had reached the 9th rank. Zhao Feng's strength had more than doubled and with the help of the illusion fish picture, Zhao Feng was on a completely different level compared to 10 days ago. After entering the clan mission division, Zhao Feng once again met Old Man Zhang. Junior Zhao Feng greets Senior Zhang. Zhao Feng didn't dare to be slow. Both Old Man Guan and Old Man Zhang were much more powerful than him in the sect. Old Man Zhang was wearing a white robe and he sized up Zhao Feng with a smile. Here are a few books: Introduction to Arrays, Less than 49 Basic Arrays, 12 Ways to Build Arrays. Old Man Zhang waved his hand and handed 7 to 8 books to Zhao Feng. After Zhao Feng took the books, Old Man Zhang smiled. Memorize them now. Zhao Feng was dazed. Memorize them now? But this wasn't a problem for him. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, he had memorized all the books. Retentive memory, I knew it. Old Man Zhang acted as if he had expected this. How did he know that I have retentive memory? Did Old Man Guan tell him? Under Zhao Feng's puzzled gaze, Old Man Zhang sneered and said, regarding your retentive memory, this old man discovered it the first time we met. The changes in the illusion fish picture were extremely complicated. In the end, there were dozens of fish in every change, with a variety of colors. It's impossible for you to pass in such a short time without a strong memory. Zhao Feng heard this and couldn't help but admire him. There's nothing strange about it. You're not the only one with retentive memory. Old Man Zhang said calmly. Could it be, Senior Zhang? Zhao Feng was slightly dazed and surprised. That's right, this is a talent I was born with. I can memorize normal books after reading them 2 or 3 times. But compared to you, I'm still far behind. Old Man Zhang was proud at first, but then he shook his head bitterly. There were many talented geniuses in this world, and retentive memory was one of them. However, both Beimhua and Old Man Zhang had retentive memory, but compared to Zhao Feng, they were still far behind. That day, Old Man Zhang only explained some basic theories about formations to Zhao Feng, as well as the general direction. Zhao Feng still felt that he had learned a lot. Formations were more complicated than alchemy, and the theory was even more vast. Before leaving, Old Man Zhang smiled in a slightly bewitching manner. As long as you can comprehend the Introduction to Array Formations and the other 7 books within 7 days, this old man will allow you to use the 1,000-leaf pond under my sex energy gathering formation. The spirit liquid in the pond has a miraculous effect on the transformation of the body, and it's also very beneficial for body training. Chapter 125. 1,000-Leaf Pond. Hearing this, Zhao Feng's heart sped up. After entering the clan for a while, he had heard of some of the mysterious places in the clan such as the Floating Crest Palace, Hollow Building, and 1,000-Leaf Pond. The floating crest palace was the foundation of the clan and was the most mysterious. Even the current clan master and elders might not be able to find out all of its secrets. As for the Thousand-Leaf Pond, although it couldn't be compared to the floating crest palace and hollow building, it was still a mysterious place in the clan. The Thousand-Leaf Pool itself was a miraculous land of fortune within the sect. This pool formed its own pattern, and it could naturally gather the essence of the world's origin chi. Later on, the sect's masters joined hands to set up the Origin Gathering Array, which lasted for 1,000 years. This caused the water in the pool to possess a certain spirituality, and it had a strange effect on the body of a cultivator. If Xiao Feng was able to enter the Thousand-Leaf Pond, it would be very useful for his silver wall technique to break through to the ascended realm. Senior Zhang, I heard that only inner disciples have the chance to enter the Thousand-Leaf Pond, Xiao Feng said suspiciously. He, the Thousand-Leaf Pond is an important place of the clan and it's not a place that any inner disciple can use. Being the vice head of the clan mission division, I'm in charge of this pond. If you can perform well in arrays, such as comprehending those books within 7 days, you'll be considered a peerless genius. At that time, I'll make an exception and let you enter the Thousand-Leaf Pond. Old man Zhang explained with a smile. Xiao Feng instantly understood. According to the rules, an outer disciple like him couldn't enter the Thousand-Leaf Pond. But even in the clan, there were a small number of people who had special privileges. For example, Old Man Zhang was the vice head of the clan mission division and he was in charge of the Thousand-Leaf Pond. He could open the back door for Xiao Feng. Of course, Xiao Feng had to show that he was talented in arrays and only then would he have the right to let Old Man Zhang use his special privileges. After saying goodbye to Old Man Zhang, 7 books about arrays appeared in Xiao Feng's mind. These books went from simple to complex. The first book, Introduction to Array Formations, was the simplest. As the name suggested, it was basic knowledge. Introduction to Array Formations basically didn't require much comprehension. As long as one could memorize it, one would be able to learn 70 to 80% of it. By the time Xiao Feng returned to his residence, he had already fully comprehended the first book, Introduction to Array Formations. Next up was the second book, A Beginner's Understanding of the 49 Basic Formations. Understanding some common basic formations would pose a certain level of difficulty for novices. If it was an ordinary person, it would be very difficult to master these 7 books without 2 to 3 years of practice. Even some geniuses would need a few months. From the second book, Xiao Feng felt a certain degree of difficulty, and doubts arose in his heart. To a certain extent, it could be said that Elder Zhang was deliberately making things difficult for him by giving him 7 array formation books. Even for ordinary geniuses, this was an impossible task. Xiao Feng couldn't figure it out, but he didn't think too much about it and focused on deciphering these books. The second book, Basics of 49 Formations, was not a problem for Xiao Feng. He estimated that he would be able to master it tonight. Halfway through his comprehension, Xiao Feng realized something. The illusion fish picture that he had previously comprehended seemed to be connected to these arrays, as if they were of the same origin. This meant that if he comprehended the illusion fish picture and these array books at the same time, he would be able to speed up his comprehension. Excitement flickered in Xiao Feng's eyes, and he wanted to completely digest the contents of the 7 books in one go. However, on the same day, a piece of news interrupted him. Substitute Inner Disciple, Xiao Feng, in 3 days, the 16th Substitute Inner Disciple, Xiao Sun, will challenge you. The Outer Hall Division sent someone over to deliver the news. Challenger, Xiao Sun Substitute Inner Disciple, ranked 16th challenged, Xiao Feng Substitute Inner Disciple, ranked 13th, this Xiao Sun is really going to challenge me? Xiao Feng threw the letter to the side, not putting it in his eyes. But not long after, Princess Yunmengxiang came to visit. You need to be careful of Xiao Sun. The blazing sun blade technique that he cultivated was a simplified version of the middle-class mortal skill of the Broken Moon clan, the Blazing Sun Manual. After entering the sect, he had spent a lot of primal crystal stones and obtained the complete blazing sun art through his connections in the sect. After obtaining it, his cultivation increased dramatically, and adding on the fact that he's at the half-step ascended realm, his strength is comparable to the top 10. Yun Mengxiang said with a solemn expression. Middle-class mortal skill. Hearing this, Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. Mortal skills were equivalent to holy martial arts in the mortal world. They were split into low class, middle class, high class and peak class. There was a huge difference between the 4 levels of mortal level cultivation techniques. The difference between each level was like the difference between the clouds and the mud. Peak class mortal skills were what made the Broken Moon clan famous. They were extremely high level and their power couldn't be estimated. If one were to ask how strong a middle-class mortal skill was, then one had to mention Baimua's ripple skill. Back in the Guanjuan Palace, during the sparring session. With Baimua's peak 8th rank cultivation, he sent Yang Qingshan, Nan Gongfan, Zhao Feng and the other 7th and 8th ranks flying with one move. How arrogant was that? One had to know that at that time, Yang Qingshan, Nan Gongfan and Zhao Feng all had mortal skills, and although there was a difference in cultivation, the difference wasn't too big. After entering the clan, Zhao Feng started to understand that Baimua's ripple skill was a middle-class mortal skill. And this time, the opponent Zhao Feng was facing was also a middle-class mortal skill, and his cultivation had reached the half-step ascended realm. How hard is a middle-class mortal skill compared to those below the ascended realm? Xiao Sun has just obtained the Blazing Sun manual, so he won't be able to use it well. Zhao Feng said, his body brimming with confidence. Unless Xiao Sun was as strong as Baimua, who was not only talented, but also had high comprehension. Seeing Zhao Feng's reaction, Yun Mengxiang was only slightly surprised. After all, Zhao Feng's performance these past few days had toppled everything she knew. There's one more thing. Yun Mengxiang said hesitantly. Speak. Zhao Feng said directly. It's like this. Your 2 senior brothers haven't been doing well recently. Do you know? Yun Mengxiang said carefully. My 2 senior brothers? How are they? Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. Not long later, Zhao Feng and Yun Mengxiang arrived at the place where the outer disciples lived. This place was for normal outer disciples, and Zhao Feng had stayed here before. Zhao Feng arrived in front of Yang Qingshan's room and knocked on the door, only to see a skinny face. When Yang Qingshan saw Zhao Feng, he was first stunned, then ashamed. He wanted to speak, but coughed out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale white. Senior brother Yang. Zhao Feng immediately helped Yang Qingshan up and gave him a blood-healing pill from the Grasswood division. After Yang Qingshan ate the pill, he started to feel better. Following this, Nan Gongfan, who was in the next room, also came in. Nan Gongfan's face was swollen, all of his injuries were external, but Yang Qingshan's internal injuries weren't light. After asking around, Zhao Feng found out that in the past 5 to 6 days, his 2 senior brothers had been bullied by a few substitute inner disciples led by Ho Yuan. These guys always find trouble with us and purposely cause trouble when we're working, Nan Gongfan said with a sad face. It didn't take long for Zhao Feng to figure out what was going on. That day, he had defeated Ji Fengyun on the challenge stage, establishing his prestige in the outer disciples, allowing them to live in peace for a few days. But it didn't last long. 4 to 5 days ago, Ho Yuan, who was ranked 4th, and Hong brothers, who were ranked 8th and 9th, tried all sorts of ways to cause trouble. Challenging the 9th, 8th, and 3rd ranked disciples at the same time was enough to shock the outer disciples. No. This is against the rules. The old man at the ascended realm shook his head. Zhao Feng stood there without moving, as if he was unwilling to give up. He wanted to challenge all 3 of them at the same time so that he wouldn't have to worry about them. Just when Zhao Feng was about to give up. Accept his request. An indifferent voice came from the depths of the great hall. It had a domineering tone of someone looking down on them. Chapter 126. Accept his request. The cold and empty voice seemed to come from the clouds, condensing in the void, emitting a vast spiritual power. Countless beings within a few hundred yards trembled and fell into silence. Zhao Feng felt that this voice was familiar. As soon as he raised his head, he saw a middle-aged man in black floating in the air. It was the black-robed vice head from last time. Vice head. The heart of the elder at the ascended realm shook as he nodded his head. Greetings, vice head. I will immediately accept Zhao Feng's challenge. Shua. The black-robed middle-aged man glanced at Zhao Feng before leaving behind a blur in the air. Zhao Feng understood that the vice heads of the clan were all extremely close to the true spirit realm. Zhao Feng. 3 days later, you will challenge the 3rd, 8th, and 9th substitute inner disciples. Apart from that, you will also face the 16th ranked Shao Sunday. The expression of the elder at the ascended realm became weird as he said this. This meant that on that day, Zhao Feng would have to face 4 battles, 1 of which was ranked lower than him and 3 of which were ranked higher than him. This was especially so for the 3rd ranked Hou Yuan, who was a tyrant of the outer disciples. This junior understands. Zhao Feng turned around and left the outer hall division, leaving behind the shocked Yang Qingshan and company behind. Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan's expressions changed and they didn't know what to say. It was obvious that they were stunned by Zhao Feng's crazy actions. Yun Mengxiang's face was full of shock and it took her a while to recover. Teng. Zhao Feng's figure leapt into the air and returned to where he was staying. Yun Mengxiang and Yang Qingshan were left on the spot, staring at each other with shock in their eyes as their breathing hastened. Just as Yang Qingshan was about to chase after him, he was stopped by Nan Gongfan. In these 3 days, Brother Zhao will definitely go into seclusion to increase his strength. Let's not disturb him. At this point, no one could stop Zhao Feng. On the same night, news of Zhao Feng's challenge spread across the outer disciples. He challenged 3 reserve inner court disciples at the same time, and all of them were ranked in the top 10 of the outer court, and the strongest among them was ranked 3rd. This news caused the outer disciples of the Broken Moon clan to shake. Almost all the outer disciples had heard of this news. Many outer disciples ran over to ask Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan. Yang Qingshan and Mu Xian groaned in their hearts, they were worried and uneasy. After all, Zhao Feng issued the challenge because of them. 3 days. Many outer disciples were secretly looking forward to it. In a solitary courtyard in the outer sect. In the challenge in 3 days. I, Shao Sun, will make you suffer a crushing defeat. You won't have any chance of progressing. Shao Sun clenched his fists, his eyes filled with battle intent. A layer of red light appeared on his body, causing the surrounding temperature to rise. He glanced coldly at the location of the 13th courtyard. That was where Zhao Feng lived. Shao Sun was the 16th substitute inner disciple, 2 courtyards away from the 13th. It was a dark and windy night. 4 figures stood in a pavilion on a distant mountain. One of them was a handsome youth wearing a black robe, obviously an inner disciple. Brother Quan Chen. Hou Yuan and the other 2 said respectfully. Quan Chen stood with his hands behind his back as a cold smile appeared on his face. I've underestimated Zhao Feng's guts. He dares to go against me again and again. Brother Quan, don't worry. He won't be able to pass me. Hou Yuan said slowly. This brat has to face 4 battles. The first one is to beat Shao Sun, which will take a lot of his energy. If he meets the 2 of us again, even if he doesn't die, he'll lose a layer of skin. The Hong brothers smiled contentedly. Quan Chen faintly nodded his head as he scanned Hou Yuan and the Hong brothers. Zhao Feng's challenge this time was like throwing an egg against a rock. Challenging 3 substitute inner disciples at the same time meant that he would have to face a continuous battle. But there was something suspicious. Why would Zhao Feng challenge 3 people at the same time? On the same day, he would also have to face Xiao Sunday. 4 challenges, all gathered in one day. Could it be that Zhao Feng was an idiot? What was his motive for doing this? This doubt flashed across the minds of the few of them. Since they had already given Zhao Feng a death sentence, then the process in between wasn't important anymore. Time flew by and the 3 days were about to arrive. In these few days, no one went to disturb Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng stayed at his place and didn't come out at all. Everyone was sure that Zhao Feng was using this time to cultivate and sharpen his spear just before the battle. But in reality, the majority of Zhao Feng's time these days was spent on the illusion fish picture and the 7 array books. Zhao Feng wanted to quickly understand the 7 books old man Zhang gave him so that he could enter the 1,000-leaf pond and improve his body-strengthening cultivation. Reaching the ascending realm with his body was Zhao Feng's current goal. For this, he also ate a marrow cleansing pill that he had made himself. The marrow cleansing pill was extremely beneficial to living beings below the ascended realm as it could accelerate the transformation of the body and improve the overall quality of the human body. But because this was his second time using the marrow cleansing pill, the effect was halved compared to the first time. But because of how the mysterious left eye changed Zhao Feng's body, even if it was only half of the effect, it wasn't any weaker than the effect of the marrow cleansing pill. After using the marrow cleansing pill this time, Zhao Feng circulated silver wall technique and returning breath technique. He felt that his entire body, blood, bones, and organs had become more active and his body had become stronger. The increase in his body's state meant that Zhao Feng's silver wall technique would become even stronger. He could even feel that the returning breath inner strength he had refined was stronger than before. On the 3rd day, Zhao Feng confirmed that the returning breath inner strength had reached the highest level, and the amount and density of his inner strength had exceeded the highest level. This meant that Zhao Feng's returning breath inner strength was slightly better than the max level of this cultivation technique. Therefore, the density of Zhao Feng's inner strength was comparable to someone at the half-step ascending realm. The only regret was that the silver wall technique wasn't able to increase in a short amount of time, and it was still a distance away from the peak of the 9th level. However, Zhao Feng understood that the increase in his body's vitality meant that he would become even stronger after breaking through. Therefore, there was no problem for him to reach the peak of the 9th level of the silver wall technique. He would be able to reach the peak within 10 days. As for the remaining marrow cleansing pill, Zhao Feng was prepared to sell it to earn back his capital. He used 5 substandard primal crystal stones to create 2 marrow cleansing pills and ate one for himself. The remaining pill was also worth 5 substandard primal crystal stones. On this morning, as Zhao Feng walked out of the courtyard, he took in a breath of fresh air and subconsciously stretched his body. As soon as Zhao Feng walked out, he realized that there were some outer disciples watching him. Has Zhao Feng come out yet? Today's the day of the challenge. He won't be a turtle hiding in his shell, right? These outer disciples were the type that wanted to see the world in chaos. Who didn't like watching a show, especially when it was a challenge that would shake the entire outer disciples? As the person in question, Zhao Feng became the focus of the outer disciples. Over the past few days, his name had repeatedly appeared in the outer sect. Brother Zhao. Yun Mengxiang and Yang Qingshan soon arrived. At the beginning, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan were slightly annoyed and blamed Zhao Feng for being too impulsive. Let's go. Zhao Feng's eyes were calm, but there was a sharpness to them that made others not dare to look at him. The hearts of Yang Qingshan and the others shuddered. At this moment, junior brother Zhao gave off the feeling of a sword being unsheathed, a sharpness that could pierce through everything. They seemed to realize that they had never seen through brother Zhao. In the past, Bei Moi was the one that they feared the most. However, the two of them knew how strong Bei Moi was. And brother Zhao in front of them, from the Guanjuan Palace to the Broken Moon Clan, had always given off a feeling that they couldn't see through him. It didn't take long for Zhao Feng, surrounded by many outer disciples, to arrive at the challenge stage reserved for substitute inner disciples. More and more people gathered near the stage. The outer disciples were the ones with the most people in the Broken Moon Clan. From the age of 10 to the age of 30, there were hundreds of disciples of all ages. Today, there were 200 to 300 people gathered on the stage, and almost half of them were outer disciples. Zhao Feng's gaze quickly scanned across the crowd, and he soon saw Xiao Sunday. Being the challenger, Xiao Sun had arrived even earlier. Following that, Hou Yuan and the Hong brothers entered the stage one after another. These three were all experts at the half-step ascended realm, and the aura they gave off made the nearby outer disciples feel uneasy. This was especially so for Hou Yuan, who was ranked third amongst the outer disciples. He was like a tyrant that made everyone's heart feel as if it had been struck by lightning. Zhao Feng knew a thing or two about Hou Yuan, and his gaze landed on the Hong brothers. The Hong clan brothers, Hong San and Hong Si, were a pair of twins that looked exactly the same. They both had short brown hair, robust and well-proportioned figures, and as they walked, their muscles and bones contained explosive force yet didn't lose their nimbleness and strength. I'll be the host for today's substitute inner disciple challenge. Deacon Qiu slowly walked out, and his mental energy pressure from the seventh sky of the ascended realm was like a mountain that made all the outer disciples realize that they were at the bottom of the clan. The crowd quietened down. Several deacons and vice-deacons from the outer hall division had expressions of interest on their faces. The first battle, rank 16, Xiao Sun, challenges rank 13, Zhao Feng. Deacon Qiu's emotionless voice sounded across the crowd. Tang. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Sun's figure turned into a fiery blur as he landed on the stage. Zhao Feng took a few steps and landed on the stage. The first battle, Xiao Sun challenging Zhao Feng. The outer disciples who had just joined the sect were instantly excited. Xiao Sun and Zhao Feng were both outer disciples of the Broken Moon Clan. Xiao Sun had always been ranked first due to his cultivation, and Zhao Feng was famous amongst the new disciples due to his strength. Zhao Feng, you've accepted my challenge and you dare to challenge Hou Yuan and the other two at the same time. You obviously don't put me in your eyes. Xiao Sun murmured in his heart. A red light spread in his eyes, burning with the flames of battle intent. Under the effect of the middle-tier common rank, Blazing Sun art, a layer of fiery red aura surrounded the entire area. A blazing and violent high-temperature aura suddenly spread out, causing his entire person to look like a god of war that was raging with flames. Chapter 127. In that instant, Xiao Sun's strength and battle intent rose to the maximum, as if it had been ignited. His cultivation at the half-step ascended realm and his middle-class mortal scorching sun manual made his aura suppress the crowd, and he could attack Zhao Feng whenever he wanted. How can a newbie who just joined the clan know a middle-class mortal skill? The outer disciples near the dueling ring were shocked. Even amongst the substitute inner disciples, I've never heard of anyone else practicing a middle-class mortal skill apart from Lin Fan, who's ranked first. Having a middle-class mortal skill meant that Xiao Sun had an advantage over the other half-step ascended realm cultivators. Shit! I can't believe Brother Zhao's first opponent is so troublesome. Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan looked at each other solemnly. Everyone knew that Zhao Feng would face 4 battles today, and none of his opponents would be easy to deal with, each more terrifying than the last. Therefore, what they cared about wasn't whether or not Zhao Feng could win, but how many battles could he last. Looking at the current situation, Xiao Sun's first opponent had unimaginable strength. Hee, maybe we won't have the chance to go up. The Hong brothers laughed weirdly. On the stage, Zhao Feng was calm as he inspected his first opponent. He would face 4 battles today. Therefore, he couldn't drag out the first battle and had to end it as soon as possible. Even the first 3 battles had to be finished in a short amount of time. The truly terrifying opponent was Hou Yuan, so Xiao Feng had to ensure that he had enough battle power. Xiao Feng. The first battle will be your end. Xiao Sun's eyes flashed with a sharp red light as he gathered his blazing sun inner strength on his fists and legs. Boom! A red afterimage flashed and an explosive aura filled the area around Xiao Feng. What a terrifying explosive power and inner force condensation speed. Xiao Feng felt as if he had fallen into a wave of fire and his skin was burning. Before he could even attack, his opponent had already gathered his blazing sun inner strength and unleashed a powerful attack. Boom boom, the fiery red fist was like an explosion of fire as it landed in front of Xiao Feng. Flowing wind form. Smoking transparent step. Xiao Feng's figure flickered as he stood on the spot. Sometimes, his figure was formless, and other times, it would appear. Under the pressure of the blazing sun's internal energy, Xiao Feng was like a fish swimming back and forth. As the illusory figure and the red light intertwined, the audience was overwhelmed by the sight. Most people were just there to watch the show, not knowing what was going on. However, some of the peak 9th rank or half-step transcending realm disciples had a serious expression on their faces. They could see Xiao Sun's attack clearly, but not Xiao Feng's movement skill. His hair was a mess and his face was pale white as he panted heavily. Give up. Two illusory figures overlapped in front of Xiao Sun, revealing Xiao Feng's real body. Xiao Sun had used up a lot of his energy and he was heavily injured. If it wasn't for Xiao Feng showing mercy, he would have died long ago. But throughout the entire battle, he couldn't even touch the corner of Xiao Feng's robes. The fire in his heart made him lose all reason. Blazing Sun Wave Breaker. Xiao Sun's red palm slashed towards Xiao Feng. This scene caused Yang Qingshan and the rest to exclaim, thinking that Brother Zhao was too careless. Poof! Xiao Feng's figure disappeared, as if he had disappeared into thin air. Xiao Sun cursed in his heart, but before he could react, a sharp finger pierced through his shoulder from behind. The power of this finger was condensed to the extreme, and it pierced through his body like a needle. Xiao Sun's body stiffened, and his face turned pale white. He turned his head around and saw Xiao Feng's cold gaze. If this was a life and death battle, you would have died many times over. Hearing this, Xiao Sun's body trembled, and his face alternated between white and red. Plop! He was sent flying by Xiao Feng's kick, and fell off the stage. Hua! The outer sect disciples below the stage were in an uproar. Many of them looked at the youth on the stage in disbelief. The first round was nothing to Xiao Feng. From the beginning to the end, Xiao Sun couldn't even touch the corner of Xiao Feng's clothes, and was toyed with. Using Xiao Feng's words, if this was a life and death battle, Xiao Sun would have died many times over. So what if his cultivation was high, and so what if his attack was strong? He couldn't even withstand a single blow in a real battle. This was the classic case of high cultivation but low battle power. First round, Xiao Sun has failed. Deacon Qiu announced. After Xiao Sun's defeat, the Hong brothers stopped underestimating him, and their expressions turned solemn. Xiao Sun's strength was comparable to the top 10 outer disciples. And this elite outer disciple was defeated by Xiao Feng in such a playful manner. One could imagine that Xiao Feng's strength was only stronger than the two of them. Second round, ranked 13, Xiao Feng challenges ranked 9 Hong Si. In the second round, the challenger became Xiao Feng. Zeng. Hong Si's well-built figure was like a leopard as he leapt onto the stage. Xiao Feng's left eye slightly contracted. He realized that Hong Si's movement skill was extremely agile, and his bones and flesh were emitting a powerful force. Agile movement skill, decent body tempering skills, and powerful physique. Adding on his cultivation at the half-step ascended realm. He had a rough estimate of Hong Si's strength. At least in terms of movement skill and physique, Hong Si was definitely stronger than Xiao Sunday Iron Plow Fist. Hong Si's figure leapt and appeared in front of Xiao Feng nimbly. His movement skill was strange, but his attacks were wide. His arms were like a 10,000-kilogram plow, slashing across the sky. Pucci, on the hard black stone platform, there were gullies that were 1 to 2 feet deep. Stone chips flew everywhere. Hong Xi's iron plow fist was domineering and awe-inspiring. It swept through everything, and based on his own style, he carved out astonishing trenches. Chi waves and stone fragments tumbled everywhere. Zhao Feng immediately used smoking transparent step and he moved between Hong Xi's attacks, making it hard to tell which was real and which was fake. However, Hong Xi's movement skill was much better than Xiao Sun's, and he managed to catch up to Zhao Feng's movement skill. 1-star finger. Suddenly, a sharp and explosive finger force pierced through Hong Xi's defensive inner force layer in a few arcs from the gaps in Hong Xi's attack. Pucci. A bloody gash was left on Hong Xi's thigh and he instantly roared in anger. The reason why Zhao Feng was able to succeed was because he had used his left eye to find a flaw in Hong Xi's defense. Hong Xi, who had been hit, didn't even know what was going on, so there were only a few people who could see through it. After his thigh was injured, Hong Xi's movement skill became slower and he was continuously hit by Zhao Feng's star finger, leaving close to 10 bloody gashes on his body. In the end, he was kicked out of the stage by Zhao Feng. Plop! Hong Xi fell flat on his face and he gritted his teeth. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Feng had injured his thigh, he wouldn't have lost so unjustly. Old 3. There's something weird about this brat, you have to be careful. Hong Xi said to Hong San, who was about to enter the stage. His brother's strength was above his, and his mental state was more stable. Hong San. There's no need for you to defeat this kid, just delay him for a period of time and wear down his strength. A voice sounded out by his ear. Hong San nodded when he heard this, and he stepped onto the stage unhurriedly. Zhao Feng couldn't help but size up his third opponent. Hong San's expression and aura were much more stable than his younger brother, and it was most suitable to be described as stable. Iron Hawk Divine Claw. Hong San's movement technique allowed him to advance and retreat, and he was agile and nimble. His attacks were extremely swift and fierce, and his claw slapped out like a bolt of lightning. Slap! That swift claw was sufficient to instantly shatter a steel plate a few inches thick, and a sharp finger mark flashed through the air and a sharp and horrifying sound resounded out. Smoky shadowless steps. Zhao Feng's figure flashed and dodged Hong San's terrifying attack. Subsequently, the two of them intersected and exchanged blows. Zhao Feng noticed that Hong San never attacked rashly, and he fought with all his heart, meticulously, and didn't underestimate his opponent in the slightest. Hong San had a steady expression, and his gaze was sharp as he stared coldly at Zhao Feng. Kid surnamed Xiao, I admit that you're stronger than me, but it isn't so easy to win easily from me. His objective in this battle was to wear down Zhao Feng's strength, and that was all. Chapter 128. Facing his third opponent, Hong Xi, Zhao Feng felt slightly troubled. Hong Xi's strength was stronger than Xiao Sun and Hong San, but that wasn't the main reason. What was troublesome was that his opponent was calm. Firstly, he admitted that he wasn't as good as Zhao Feng. With this in mind, he naturally wouldn't underestimate his opponent and would use 200% of his strength to fight against Zhao Feng. Secondly, Hong San didn't seek to win. His only goal was to stall Zhao Feng and wear down his opponent's strength. Under the situation where he didn't seek to win, Hong San only sought to not win. He controlled his mistakes to the minimum. Although Zhao Feng's movement technique was profound, Hong San didn't seek to win and instead, he attacked randomly to test Zhao Feng's position. Although he seeks to win, I only need a few dozen moves to win. But Zhao Feng's figure flickered and appeared in front of Hong San. Facing the calm Hong Xi, Zhao Feng decided to change his strategy. Rather than winning through tricks and wasting a few dozen moves, he might as well bring out his true strength and win with overwhelming strength. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and emitted a sharp aura from his body. The boundless returning origin inner force surged like thunder. In that instant, Zhao Feng's aura rose by half a level. Hong San's expression instantly changed. Hou Yuan, who was below the stage, squinted his eyes. Many people were flabbergasted. They hadn't expected Zhao Feng to be holding back all this time. This meant that the battle between Xiao Sun and Hong San didn't exhaust Zhao Feng at all. How is this possible? The amount of inner force he has is even greater than mine. Xiao Sun stared at Zhao Feng, who was getting stronger and stronger, and his pale face was filled with defeat. First star finger. Zhao Feng didn't hold back as he used his max-level star finger. Even though he didn't merge the four wind stances into it, the light from his finger was enough to shock the soul. Poof! Poof! Puff! Numerous starpoint finger forces dragged along rumbling and piercing howls as they pounced towards Hong San like flying insects. Hong San's face was pale as he activated his half-step mortal shedding stage inner energy, forming a layer of inner energy barrier around his body. At the same time, he waved both of his arms. Boundless Tai Mountain. Hong San swung his arms as an oppressive aura that was steady like Mount Tai and possessed boundless might soared out from his entire body, and his thick and vast tornadoes moved to greet Zhao Feng's ceaseless attacks. Puff! Puff! Bang! Between the two of them, a shockwave exploded, and dust flew everywhere. At first glance, this was clearly a competition of releasing inner force. But after a few seconds, Hong Xi's burly figure stiffened with a muffled groan and retreated. Even though he was fighting with all his might, he still left a flaw and was struck by Zhao Feng's star finger. Zhao Feng pursed his lips into a smile. He didn't believe that his opponent could be so impenetrable when he was fighting with all his might. Sometimes, since tricks didn't work, it was more effective to use the most direct and brutal method. With Zhao Feng's strength, he was able to suppress his opponent, so he instantly opened an opening. First star finger. Tornado stance. Zhao Feng seized the opportunity to chase after Hong San. This time, he merged the tornado stance into it, causing the power of star finger to rise to a whole new level. Poof! Poof! Whoosh! The star finger force dragged along the sound of wind and thunder, and it was as if stars were exploding. The power of the attack had even exceeded the limits of the consolidated stage. All the outer court disciples present were dumbfounded. At this moment, everyone had to admit that Zhao Feng had the strength to at least enter the top 5 of the outer court, and he even had the qualifications to challenge the top 3. Barf! Hong Xi endured a few moves before spitting out a mouthful of blood. A few bloody holes were left on his body, and he let out a muffled groan as he jumped off the stage. I've lost. Hong Xi had a bitter expression on his face. He'd exerted all his strength and sought stability instead of victory. He was completely stable and watertight, yet he'd still lost. According to his strategy, he wanted to stall for time and wear down Zhao Feng's strength. However, he didn't expect Zhao Feng to defeat him in a short period of time. I've tried my best. Hong Xi looked at Hou Yuan helplessly. Hou Yuan's expression was indifferent, and he was as calm as a mountain as he transmitted his voice. You've already forced Zhao Feng to use his full strength, and he's not completely unscathed. Zhao Feng's 3 consecutive victories caused a huge uproar below the stage. Before today's challenge, no one expected that Zhao Feng would be so tyrannical, and he would be able to defeat his 3 opponents so quickly. From the current situation, it could be seen that Zhao Feng had easily defeated his 3 opponents. There had been no hard battles. After winning the challenge, Zhao Feng would replace Hong Xi's ranking. 4th round, the 8th-ranked Zhao Feng will challenge the 3rd-ranked Hou Yuan. Deacon Qiu's eyes flashed with anticipation. After 3 consecutive victories, would Zhao Feng be able to win the last challenge? Everyone knew that Hou Yuan was Zhao Feng's biggest opponent today. Being ranked third in the outer court was equivalent to being the overlord of the outer court. Hou Yuan's strength had shocked the outer court for many years, and he even had the strength to challenge those at the transcending realm. To a certain extent, Hou Yuan's strength had already surpassed the 9th stage of the consolidated realm. Zhao Feng, you don't have a chance against me. Hou Yuan's body landed heavily on the stage, causing it to tremble. Cracks that looked like spider webs could be seen on the solid, pure black stone slab. Just this landing alone had displayed Hou Yuan's strength that surpassed those at the half-step transcending realm. Pfft! Hou Yuan's shirt was torn apart, revealing his iron skin and bronze drum. His entire body seemed to be made of gold, and the aura emitted from his body was enough to scare away peak fierce beasts. Hiss! Many outer court disciples sucked in cold breaths with shock in their eyes. The aura is almost close to a king-level fierce beast. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. Compared to half a month ago, Hou Yuan's strength had obviously increased. No wonder he could beat the third-ranked disciple. It wasn't hard for Zhao Feng to see with his left eye that Hou Yuan's body had reached the limits of the consolidated realm and was close to the ascended realm with his body. No matter if it was Zhao Feng or Hou Yuan, they both focused on body-strengthening techniques. Their goal was the same, to reach the ascended realm with their body. But compared to Zhao Feng, Hou Yuan's mastery in this aspect was slightly better. After all, Hou Yuan had joined the clan earlier and had trained in body-strengthening techniques since he was young. If he took another half a step forward, he would be the first outer court disciple to reach the ascended realm with his body in the last 100 years. Dang! Dang! Hou Yuan took one step at a time towards Zhao Feng and the wild force had reached a terrifying level. Little metal fist. Hou Yuan's fist seemed to have expanded, emitting a layer of golden luster. It kept enlarging in his field of vision, giving him the illusion that it could fill up the entire world. Zhao Feng's left eye instantly contracted and his expression became solemn. Peng! In the instant he punched out, Hou Yuan's body and fist had already arrived in front of Zhao Feng. The explosive power of his body and inner strength made Hou Yuan's speed far surpass the Hong brothers. All the outer disciples present were dumbfounded. The power of Hou Yuan's fist could instantly kill a cultivator at the 9th rank of the consolidated realm. Silver Wall Mountain Splitter. In a split second, Zhao Feng's inner strength and inner strength also exploded. The fists collided with each other, filled with violence and killing the target without any technique. All the outer disciples could hear was a loud explosion. Their eardrums buzzed, and their blood and qi churned. In that instant, they lost their sense of hearing. Tang! 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 Zhao Feng and Hou Yuan both retreated at the same time and the cracks on the ground continued to spread. Zhao Feng retreated 9 steps before stabilizing himself, his face as calm as ever. Hou Yuanzi retreated 8 steps, his body swaying slightly, his eyes filled with shock. This was obviously the result of a tie. However, this scene caused the outer disciples below the ring to cry out in astonishment, and their eyes to drop open in shock. This Zhao Feng didn't lose to Hou Yuan in a head-on clash. This guy also focuses on body strengthening, but he's actually able to fight Hou Yuan. The stage was in an uproar. No one had expected this to happen. The most shocked was Hou Yuan. He had trained in body strengthening techniques and he naturally knew how difficult it was. However, he couldn't imagine that a 14 or 15-year-old youth in front of him would have body strengthening skills that were close to his. One had to know that he was 25 or 26 years old, which was more than 10 years older than Zhao Feng. If he couldn't break through to the ascended realm within 30, he would be abandoned by the clan. This person's body strengthening skills are indeed better than mine. Zhao Feng was as calm as water as he slowly opened his left eye. He trained in the silver wall technique, which increased his power and focused on defense. Ho Yuan's body strengthening technique wasn't any weaker than the silver wall technique, but it was more profound. Zhao Feng, I didn't think that you would also focus on body strengthening, and your level of cultivation isn't any lower than mine. However, you'll definitely lose today. Ho Yuan's expression was cold as his muscles seemed to be made of steel. The aura he gave off became more terrifying. Under Zhao Feng's left eye, he found that Ho Yuan's inner strength and body strengthening technique had perfectly merged with each other. Crack! Crack! Ho Yuan's bones cracked and gave off a shocking aura. Zhao Feng's heart jumped and he felt as if he was facing a lord-tier deadly beast. He didn't know how profound Ho Yuan's body strengthening skills were, but he had perfectly merged his inner strength with his bones. Gold bronze casting body. Ho Yuan's aura rose by half a level and a layer of gold light appeared on his body, making him look like a statue of Buddha. After using the gold bronze casting body, Ho Yuan had the strength to challenge cultivators at the first sky of the ascended realm. Small gold metal fist. A golden fist of energy tore through the air and engulfed Zhao Feng like a bolt of lightning. The speed was too fast and under normal circumstances, Zhao Feng wouldn't be able to react in time. At this moment, Zhao Feng's left eye was fully opened and he circulated returning breath technique and silver wall technique to block Ho Yuan's punch. Boom! Zhao Feng's body flew out tens of yards and his blood boiled. If it wasn't for the fact that his silver wall technique specialized in defense, that punch would have made him cough out blood. Get down! Ho Yuan forced Zhao Feng to the edge of the stage. As long as he fell off the stage, it would be considered Zhao Feng's loss. Shua! Zhao Feng's body was destroyed by the punch. This time, Ho Yuan missed. Flowing wind stance. Smoking transparent step. Zhao Feng pushed his movement skill to the max level and merged the flowing wind stance into it. Chapter 129. Gold bronze casting body. This was one of Ho Yuan's body strengthening skills. Once he used it, his body's power and defense would reach a whole new level. Zhao Feng had been sent flying and was almost injured from that attack. At this moment, Zhao Feng opened his left eye to observe the principles and flaws of this move. Under his supervision, Ho Yuan's body started to glow with a red and gold light that merged into his body. The perfect combination of body strengthening and inner strength. Just half a step more and his body would be at the ascended realm. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. No wonder there were rumors that the top few substitute inner disciples had the strength to challenge those at the ascended realm. Body refinement techniques were the most primitive and simple method of cultivation, and they stressed upon suppressing others with force and destroying all techniques with force. Therefore, the flaws of body strengthening skills were much smaller than normal skills. Zhao Feng opened his left eye and couldn't find any obvious flaws of the gold bronze casting body. Although he could roughly understand the principles of the gold bronze casting body, the two's body strengthening skills had different styles, so it was impossible for them to use it on him in such a short amount of time. Brat! Let's see how long you can run. Ho Yuan's loud voice sounded and his attacks slowed down as he tried to capture Zhao Feng's figure. After merging the illusion fish picture, Zhao Feng's movement skill had many changes and it was more suitable for chaotic situations. The more the opponent's movements and attacks, the easier it was for them to be fooled. If the enemy was calm, cautious, and sought stability, the effects of the illusion fish picture would be reduced. In a short amount of time, Ho Yuan seemed to be on the defensive. At least before he found the pattern of Zhao Feng's movement skill, he wouldn't waste his energy. If the opponent doesn't move, then I'll move. Star Finger. Zhao Feng coldly laughed as he used his max-level Star Finger, which shot towards Ho Yuan. Ding ding ding, sparks appeared on Ho Yuan's body. Those sharp finger attacks weren't able to break through his defense. Ha ha ha, this is your attack. What a powerful defense. Zhao Feng's heart skipped a beat. Gold bronze casting body allowed Ho Yuan's internal strength and body refining technique to be perfectly integrated. The defensive power it brought was even stronger than his silver aura shield. Small diamond fist. Ho Yuan cried out in alarm. He finally locked onto Zhao Feng's figure and punched out savagely. The air around Zhao Feng was instantly torn apart. Even before the fist arrived, the powerful wind force was already enough to suppress an ordinary 8th or 9th level of the consolidated stage. Silver Aura Energy Barrier. Zhao Feng pushed his Guiyuan internal force to the limit and activated the Silver Wall technique. A layer of silver light appeared on his body. Peng peng, the punch hit the target. The silver chi light shield rippled for a moment and quickly dimmed. Zhao Feng felt as if there was a mountain on his body as he withstood the boundlessly overbearing energy, causing his breathing to become hurried. Under this sort of pressure, the convergence chi technique was activated to surpass the peak perfection stage, causing the silver dipper energy barrier to become even thicker. Crack! The silver dipper energy barrier finally broke under the fist that was enough to reach the ascended realm. However, Zhao Feng was one step ahead and borrowed the force to retreat tens of feet. He then activated the smoking transparent step and with a sway of his body, a few afterimages appeared as he retreated. Teng teng. Ho Yuan also retreated a few steps due to the silver dipper energy barrier breaking. His expression became serious for the first time. From the start of the fight until now, the power, movement skill and inner strength that Zhao Feng had displayed had exceeded his expectations time and time again. He was clearly an opponent that could compete with him. Especially in terms of movement skill, Ho Yuan had to admit that he wasn't as good as Zhao Feng. The illusion fish picture that Zhao Feng had comprehended was the best for movement skills. Furthermore, the smoking transparent step had already reached the peak perfection stage. Furthermore, the convergence chi technique had given Zhao Feng a strong foundation. His meridians were long and he was comparable to those at the half-step ascended realm. If he wanted to drag it out, Zhao Feng would be almost undefeatable. This was also what Ho Yuan was worried about. But unexpectedly, Zhao Feng didn't plan to drag it out. His goal wasn't just to fight to a draw. Star Finger. Tornado Stance. Gold Metal Fist. Silver Wall Mountain Splitter. On the stage, the two figures intersected and separated from each other. Between them, Zhao Feng was always on the offensive while Ho Yuan was on the defensive. The outer disciples on the stage were shocked. This Zhao Feng actually has the strength to fight Ho Yuan. He's only relying on his movement skill to deal with Ho Yuan. If he were to fight head-on, he wouldn't be Ho Yuan's opponent. Movement skill is also a part of strength. In this aspect, he can almost be considered the best in the outer disciples. No matter what, everyone was shocked by Zhao Feng's true strength. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the two people on the stage. Especially Zhao Feng's movement skill, it was profound and had endless changes. It was always unexpected. Out of 10 attacks, Ho Yuan would only be able to lock onto his target 2 or 3 times. Sometimes, it depended on luck. The battle between the two had reached its climax. After 40 to 50 exchanges, there was still no winner. Tornado Stance. Mysterious Wind Palm. Suddenly, Zhao Feng leapt into the air and his attacking style changed dramatically. An azure glow started to form on his palm and it started to spin. The glow became brighter and brighter and the surrounding wind started to tear. That palm seemed slow, but it was actually extremely fast. It seemed to be in harmony with the surroundings, as if it was borrowing the power of nature. It was like a whirlpool in the middle of a river, swallowing and cutting everything. It's that move. Below the stage, Ji Fengyun and the others were shocked and held their breaths. The move that Zhao Feng executed was extremely powerful. It was the mysterious wind palm that he used to defeat Ji Fengyun. Compared to that day, the power of Zhao Feng's move had increased by twofold. Gold medal pillar. Ho Yuan's expression was solemn as he executed a move that combined both offense and defense. His hands formed a bridge and protected his front. He then exerted his strength, as if he was going to prop up the sky. The two powerful moves clashed in midair. The sharp aura tore at each other and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. One of the two was rooted to the ground, while the other was floating in midair. It was as if they had fused into a statue. A violent wave of dust swept out in all directions, causing the people outside the stage to be unable to see what was going on inside. After a breath of time, there was a loud bang as the two figures separated. Tang! 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 One of the gold medal figures groaned as he retreated. The other figure flipped and landed on the ground. As the dust settled, everyone looked at the two on the stage. Zhao Feng was still the same as before, but his clothes were slightly damaged. As for Ho Yuan, there were dozens of bloody marks on his body, but it seemed like they were only superficial wounds. Even so, the crowd couldn't help but take a deep breath. No one had ever seen Ho Yuanyu in such a sorry state. Maybe he will be the new number one in the outer disciples. A cold man's voice came from not far away, approaching the challenge stage. Many people's bodies stiffened upon hearing the voice. Especially the substitute inner disciples, such as Ji Fengyun and the Hong brothers, they all looked at the person who spoke. In the crowd, a path was made in tacit understanding, and a steady and tenacious young man walked over. This young man had an ordinary appearance and a calm expression, but he made the outer disciples respect him. Number one in the outer disciples, Lin Fan. Even he was alarmed. I heard that Lin Fan has a record of defeating disciples in the transcending mortality stage. Lin Fan's appearance caused a huge commotion near the stage. Number one in the outer disciples. Shao Sun, Yun Mengxiang, Yang Qingshan and the rest all looked at this legendary figure. Ever since they had entered the outer disciples, they had heard of Lin Fan's achievements more than once. It was said that Lin Fan's talent was average and he only had a half-spiritual body. He had barely managed to enter the sect. But a person like him had become the number one in the outer disciples through his hard work. Lin Fan, you're talking about Zhao Feng? He will become the number one in the outer disciples. Even you think you're not Zhao Feng's opponent? Some of the substitute inner disciples couldn't help but ask. Firstly, his movement skill is undoubtedly number one in the outer disciples. Even I can't compare to him. Lin Fan paused slightly as he said this. Some of the substitute inner disciples nodded their heads. They had nothing to say about Zhao Feng's movement skill. Secondly, Ho Yuan's defense is number one in the outer disciples. Up until now, Zhao Feng hasn't been injured, but Ho Yuan has been injured, even if it's just a light injury. Lin Fan smiled. Yun Mengxiang secretly sized up the number one in the outer disciples and found that he gave off an ordinary feeling. Lin Fan analyzed, this means that Zhao Feng's offense, defense, speed and movement skills have all reached a peak, so he's definitely better than Ho Yuan. And Ho Yuan's defense is number one in the outer disciples. If Zhao Feng can defeat him, he will become the new number one in the outer disciples. Hearing this, everyone felt that it made sense. After all, even the second substitute inner disciple had only fought to a draw with Ho Yuan. At this time, the situation on the stage changed once again. 1 star finger. Partial wind stance. Zhao Feng suddenly merged the third stance of the 4 wind stances, the partial wind stance. The profundity of the partial wind stance was even stronger than the tornado stance. And now, Zhao Feng's cultivation, body, and even star finger had far surpassed his previous self. Puchi, the blade-like force of the finger cut through the air, condensed and pulsed, shining with a sharp light. Zhao Feng's finger seemed to have turned into a sharp blade that pierced through Ho Yuan's waist, causing blood to spurt out. How could this be? Ho Yuan's body froze as he looked at the shocking wound on his waist. He couldn't believe that his powerful defense had been broken through so easily. Whoosh! Another finger mark that was as thin as a silver thread swept past his face. Ho Yuan froze for a moment. Then, a faint line of blood appeared on his neck. His hair stood on end and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He felt as if he had just walked through the gates of hell. That second finger was clearly holding back, or else it would have definitely cut his throat. As I thought. Zhao Feng stood in front of him, his eyes flashing. Without a doubt, the one-star finger combined with the partial wind stance was Zhao Feng's strongest single-target attack. After all, he had only comprehended 20 to 30% of the burning wind stance. The mystic wind palm combined with the tornado stance had a strong continuous attack, but it wasn't as effective as the partial wind stance against Ho Yuan. The partial wind stance was like the wind, seeking to cut like a blade. It was the bane of physique tempering techniques and was good at breaking through defenses. I've lost. Ho Yuan took a while to react, but he had to accept the reality. There was no point in continuing the fight. Because Zhao Feng had mastered the partial wind stance and combined it with the one-star finger, he could instantly cut through the defense that he was so proud of. Chapter 130. Challenger, Zhao Feng wins. Deacon Qiu's voice resounded across the area, waking the outer disciples up. Ho Yuan had lost. Shock appeared on the faces of the outer disciples and they felt that everything had happened too quickly. Especially at the end, Zhao Feng's attack had easily broken through Ho Yuan's number one outer disciple defense. His speed wasn't as good as Zhao Feng's and his strongest defense had been easily broken through. How could Ho Yuan still have the confidence to fight again? The final confrontation even shocked the number one outer disciple, Lin Fan. What a strong attack! It's enough to threaten those at the first sky of the Ascended Realm. Lin Fan was shocked as he inspected Zhao Feng who had shocked the outer disciples. A substitute inner disciple had won 4 battles in a row. This was something that hadn't happened in the past 100 years. After all, according to the rules, there was no such thing as continuous challenges. All the outer disciples present, including the substitute inner disciples, stared at Zhao Feng with shock and wariness. Since Zhao Feng can beat Ho Yuan, Jiang Yuyan, who is ranked second, definitely isn't his match. His current strength might not be inferior to Lin Fan who's ranked first. While the crowd was still in shock, they also started to discuss in low voices. The top 20 outer disciples were all substitute inner disciples. Lin Fan, who was ranked first, had a record of beating those at the Ascended Realm. Jiang Yuyan and Ho Yuan, who were ranked second, had the same strength, but Jiang Yuyan also found it hard to break through Ho Yuan's defense. Zhao Feng had won so easily against Ho Yuan. It was obvious that he was stronger than the person in second place. I'm not his match. A young girl in the crowd looked at Zhao Feng on the stage and muttered to herself. She was ranked second, Jiang Yuyan. After seeing the battle between Zhao Feng and Ho Yuan, Jiang Yuyan came to this conclusion, albeit helplessly. In terms of speed, Zhao Feng was ranked first. In terms of offense, he was also ranked first when he easily broke through Ho Yuan's defense. In terms of defense and physical strength, Zhao Feng was just below Ho Yuan. This was an abnormally powerful rising star with comprehensive strength. Thinking of this, Jiang Yuyan was left with nothing but fear. She did not have a strong defensive body like Ho Yuan. If she were to face Zhao Feng, she might lose even more miserably. However, both Jiang Yuyan and Ho Yuan believed that there was another person in the outer sect who had a chance of defeating Zhao Feng. That was Lin Fan, who was ranked number 1. So you're Zhao Feng, very strong. From now on, you are the new number 1 in the outer sect. Lin Fan smiled. There was an uproar as soon as he said that. What was going on? Everyone had their doubts. Everyone was deeply convinced of Lin Fan's strength. Could it be that even the number 1 outer sect disciple, Lin Fan, admitted that he was inferior to Zhao Feng? Lin Fan, why did you hand over the first place of the outer sect to him when there was no competition? Hou Yuan and Jiang Yuyan were reluctant to give up. They understood Lin Fan's strength. He had even defeated transcending mortality stage cultivators before, so he should be stronger than Zhao Feng. Hearing that, Zhao Feng was slightly shocked. He glanced at Lin Fan with his left eye and instantly understood. Ha ha ha. I'm no longer an outer sect disciple. 2 days ago, I broke through to the transcending mortality stage in the valley. And today, I'm going to the Tianshu Hall to report and become an inner sect disciple. Lin Fan let out a long laugh as a mental pressure rose from his body. Many outer sect disciples felt their blood freeze. Everyone was shocked by this news. Breaking through to the transcending mortality stage and becoming an inner sect disciple. That was the dream of many outer sect disciples. Lin Fan had finally achieved this goal after fighting for so many years in the outer sect. Everyone came to a realization and congratulated Lin Fan. Zhao Feng also congratulated him with a smile. He had a good impression of Lin Fan whom he had only met once. Zhao Feng, I believe we will meet again in the inner sect in a few years. Lin Fan had a smile on his face. He had high expectations of Zhao Feng. I hope so. Zhao Feng said humbly. Lin Fan didn't stay for long and soon left the stage, leaving behind many envious outer sect disciples. After Lin Fan left, Zhao Feng was once again the center of attention. If Lin Fan becomes an inner sect disciple, doesn't that mean Zhao Feng will be the first outer sect disciple? Everyone's hearts shook as they looked at Zhao Feng with even more fear and wariness. Especially Hou Yuan, the Hong brothers, Ji Fengyun, and the others, their hearts skipped a beat. After Lin Fan left, Zhao Feng would definitely be the first outer sect disciple. Zhao Feng was also slightly surprised by this result. In today's challenge, he had swept away all the outer sect disciples and won first place. He had defeated 4 substitute inner sect disciples, intimidated second place Jiang Yuyan, and coincidentally, Lin Fan had also become an inner sect disciple. Teng. Zhao Feng leapt up and arrived in front of Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan with a smile on his face. Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan were so excited that they couldn't even speak properly. They didn't know if they were ashamed, grateful, or happy. Princess Yunmengxiang had a complicated look in her eyes as she sized up this young man who had brought her so many surprises and defeats. For some reason, the more she looked at him, the more she couldn't see through Zhao Feng. After Lin Fan left, one of the 20 substitute inner sect disciples was empty, and the outer sect disciples would have to fight for it again. According to the rules, Zhao Feng's ranking would rise from 3rd place to 2nd place. However, at this time, the second Jiang Yuyan said something to Deacon Qiu. Deacon Qiu nodded his head and called Zhao Feng over. Jiang Yuyan has admitted defeat, and I allow you to be the first substitute inner sect disciple from now on. You will receive the best treatment among the outer sect disciples. Deacon Qiu said with a smile. Admit defeat? Zhao Feng looked at Jiang Yuyan in surprise. Zhao Feng. I'm no match for you now, but it won't be long before I take back the ranking that belongs to me. Jiang Yuyan said coldly before turning around and leaving. Just like that, Zhao Feng became the first substitute inner sect disciple. On the same day, he moved into the new courtyard. The treatment of the first substitute inner sect disciple was far better than the others. For example, Zhao Feng could receive 10 substandard primal crystal stones every month, which was equivalent to the salary of an ordinary inner sect disciple. The resources he received were also better than the other substitute inner sect disciples. Zhao Feng, I heard that the first substitute inner sect disciple can go to the sect to choose a middle-class mortal skill after 3 days, unless someone challenges you. Princess Yunmengxiang came to visit. Middle-class mortal skill. Hearing this, Zhao Feng's heart moved in surprise and joy. Zhao Feng had a deep understanding of the power of a middle-class mortal skill. In the past, Baimuo's ripple technique was a middle-class mortal and he completely beat the 5 of them in the sparring. Xiao Sun's Blazing Sun technique wasn't very good, but it was so powerful that it was comparable to the top 10. But in the clan, middle-class mortal skills weren't open to the outer sect disciples. Usually, only inner sect disciples would have the chance to choose a middle-class mortal skill. Although there was a difference of 1 rank between middle-class mortal and low-class mortal, it was like the difference between clouds and mud. It was even bigger than the difference between each rank of the consolidated realm. If nothing goes wrong, I'll be able to get a middle-class mortal skill in 3 days. Zhao Feng was filled with anticipation. Of course, he wouldn't forget the temptation of the 1,000-leaf pond. That was his goal, to reach the ascending realm. Therefore, Zhao Feng spent a lot of time every day studying the 7 books old man Zhang had given him. In terms of cultivation, he mainly focused on silver wall technique, but he would also occasionally study the last stance of the partial wind stance, burning wind stance. Because he had taken 2 marrow cleansing pills, Zhao Feng's body had greatly improved and he felt that his silver wall technique was progressing rapidly. In less than 10 days, Zhao Feng's silver wall technique would reach the peak of the 9th level. When he wasn't cultivating, Zhao Feng would occasionally take care of his 2 senior brothers. In the outer sect, wherever Zhao Feng went, many outer sect disciples would willingly submit and respectfully greet him. Greetings, Brother Zhao. Some outer sect disciples who were older and more experienced than him would greet him respectfully. Now, Zhao Feng had become the #1 outer sect disciple and crushed the entire outer sect under his feet. This goal had come sooner than he had expected. With the protection of Zhao Feng, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan's lives became much more relaxed and their work became much easier. Brother Zhao, no one in the outer sect dares to offend us anymore. Yang Qingshan said with a smile. Nan Gongfan, on the other hand, was slightly worried. Brother Zhao, haven't you gone overboard recently? What if Hai Yun Master notices you? As an outer sect disciple, no matter how strong I am, I won't attract Hai Yun Master's attention unless I become an inner sect disciple one day. Zhao Feng said confidently. He was sure that Hai Yun Master wouldn't notice him, or even know of his existence. This was because he only had a low spiritual body and even Quan Chen and the other disciples might not be interested in him. In the world of sects, disciples' aptitude was the most important, and strength was secondary, at least in the early stages. No matter how strong a disciple at the consolidated realm was, he was only an ant at the beginning. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. No one had challenged Zhao Feng's position as the #1 outer sect disciple. Jiang Yuyan, who was ranked 2nd, and Ho Yuan, who was ranked 3rd, knew that they wouldn't be able to fight against Zhao Feng in a short period of time. Therefore, Zhao Feng immediately sent an application to the Outer Hall Division for a middle-class mortal skill. This application had to be checked by the Outer Hall Division to see if there was anything fake about it. But Zhao Feng's position as the #1 outer sect disciple was unshakable. His 4 consecutive wins had shocked the entire Outer Hall Division and even some of the deacons had seen it. More importantly, the Vice Hall Master was the one who allowed him to challenge multiple people at once. Thus, his request was approved without a hitch. This is the hollow token and it can only be used once. With this token, you can enter the sacred ground of the clan, the hollow building. Deacon Qiu handed a bronze token to Zhao Feng. Hollow building? Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. He had heard of the hollow building ever since he had entered the clan. The hollow building is different from the martial arts buildings in other countries. It's a place of inheritance for the clan. In theory, a normal inner disciple can only enter the hollow building once before reaching the 4th sky of the ascended realm. Deacon Qiu looked deeply at Zhao Feng. Chapter 131. Hearing this, Zhao Feng was overjoyed. He obviously understood what Deacon Qiu meant. In principle, ordinary inner disciples could only enter the hollow building once. But Zhao Feng wasn't an inner disciple yet, so he wasn't included in this restriction. In other words, before he even became an inner disciple, he already had a chance to enter the Hollow Tower before the other inner disciples. If Zhao Feng was able to enter the inner disciples, he would have a second chance to enter the Hollow Building. This advantage made Zhao Feng feel that it was unbelievable. This is the rule set by the ancestor of the clan. The first outer disciple has the right to enter. Deacon Qiu smiled faintly. Ancestor? Zhao Feng thought in his heart that the Broken Moon clan's ancestor had at least given some disciples a chance to live. After all, talent was highly valued in the clan and most outer disciples didn't have high talent. Before this, Sun Yuanhao, who had a changeable body, and Lu Yu, who had a high spiritual body, were chosen by the upper echelons and entered the inner disciples. After saying goodbye to Deacon Qiu, Zhao Feng held the Hollow Building and headed straight for the clan's Hollow Building. The Hollow Building was the forbidden ground of the Broken Moon clan and even deacons and inner disciples couldn't enter easily. Several miles away, Zhao Feng saw a half-transparent tower on the edge of a cliff. Under the sunlight, it gave off a beautiful glow. Zhao Feng scanned the building with his left eye and he couldn't see what it was made of, but he was sure that it wasn't normal. There were 2 rows of guards at the entrance of the Hollow Building and each of them was at least at the 3rd sky of the Ascended Realm. Each of them had a higher cultivation than Lord Guanjuan. This is the clan's forbidden ground, leave immediately. One of the guards yelled and an invisible mental energy pressure made Zhao Feng's breath stop. The other guards also had disdainful expressions. Looking at what Zhao Feng was wearing, he was only an outer disciple and his cultivation was only at the 9th consolidated realm. In their eyes, he was no different from an ant. Shua! Zhao Feng silently took out the hollow token. Upon seeing this order, the guard who had just berated them was startled. Please. The guards watched as Zhao Feng entered the Hollow Building, and their expressions changed. I really couldn't tell that this kid is actually the #1 disciple of the outer sect. They were surprised. Entering the Hollow Building, Zhao Feng felt as though he had entered a different space. The interior of the building was filled with multicolored rays of light. He had been practicing formations recently and he could sense the existence of the formations in the Hollow Building. The power of the formation was formless and incorporeal, but it had lasted in the building for more than 1,000 years, affecting this small world. Before he could open his left eye to inspect the array in the Hollow Building, an old voice sounded in his mind, hand over your hollow token. Swoosh! The hollowed token in Zhao Feng's hand flew out. Bronze Hollow Order, you can choose a middle-tier mortal cultivation technique. As soon as the voice finished, the power of the array fluctuated and a staircase appeared in front of him. Zhao Feng stepped onto the staircase and entered a misty world. Within the mist, there were countless jade slips. Every single jade slip had a different picture on it, and they described the skill's characteristics and requirements. Dragon Returning Palm. Overlord Fist. No Wind Technique. Blazing Flame Sword. With a sweep of his left eye, hundreds and thousands of skills and descriptions merged into his mind. After a while, Zhao Feng came to a general conclusion. Many skills could be trained to the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm or higher. Normally, reaching the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm was the fate of a middle-class mortal cultivation technique, and the higher ones were at the 5th sky. Low-class mortal cultivation techniques could only be used to reach the Ascended Realm. Middle-class mortal cultivation techniques could be used to reach the 4th sky of the Ascended Realm and a few could reach the True Spirit Realm. High-class mortal cultivation techniques could be used to reach the 7th sky of the Ascended Realm and a few could reach the True Spirit Realm. Peak-class mortal cultivation techniques could be used to reach the True Spirit Realm. Therefore, peak-class mortal cultivation techniques were the true treasures of the Broken Moon clan. As for spiritual class mortal cultivation techniques, they were the ultimate skills of the clan and those below the True Spirit Realm didn't have the right to learn them. You have half an hour to choose a skill. All you need to do is grab the jade slip and merge your consciousness into it to comprehend the skill inside. The old voice seemed to realize that Zhao Feng didn't understand the rules of the hollow building. Yes, senior. Zhao Feng felt weird. Why would the old voice appear in his mind? In the mortal world, normal voice transmissions would only ring in the ears. But thinking that this was a clan, nothing could be measured by normal logic, so he understood. Soon, Zhao Feng scanned through the thousands of skills floating in the mist with his left eye and memorized their characteristics. This was all thanks to the mysterious left eye. Other disciples wouldn't be able to read through thousands of skills in such a short amount of time. After looking through it once, Zhao Feng quickly eliminated some of the skills that restricted cultivation. For example, he needed to be at least at the ascended realm to cultivate them. Then, after some analysis, he selected some techniques that were more powerful and profound. This way, Zhao Feng had 1 to 200 high-quality skills that suited him appear in his mind. These exquisite cultivation techniques were probably not bad among the middle-rank mortal ones. Unfortunately, Zhao Feng could only choose one. After thinking for a long time, Zhao Feng decided to choose a skill that specialized in offense. Returning Dragon Palm. The palm is like the roar of a dragon and can shatter mountains. At the high level, the shadow of a dragon can appear and threaten those of the same rank. High requirement for true force. 7 fingers of destruction, split into 7 levels and 7 profound skills. Extremely powerful single target attacks. High requirements for true force control and concentration. Blazing Flame Sword. The sword is as fierce as fire. At the high level, every sword strike can summon fire and those under the 4th sky of the ascended realm will be invincible. The offensive skills that Zhao Feng had his eyes on were all extremely powerful and the power they could produce exceeded the power of nature. For example, the Raging Flame Sword. The sword technique could attract the brilliance of raging flames. How could this be something that a human could do? Of course, Zhao Feng didn't consider using other weapons. His left eye was more suitable for arrows and was invincible at long range. He tried not to choose weapons in close combat as there was a limit to relying on external items. If the weapon broke, his strength would be greatly reduced. Furthermore, at the ascended realm, long-range attacks were common and the advantage of weapons wasn't that obvious. After looking at it for a long time, a different skill finally appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. Thunder Wind Palm. The palm technique has the power of wind and thunder, using the wind to attract the power of thunder. When the palm technique reaches completion, it can almost attract the power of thunder and lightning. However, because the technique is incomplete, almost no one has reached completion. There are records that those who reach the high level of this skill will be turned to dust by lightning. Practice carefully. The last note seemed to have been added later and the handwriting was newer. Lightning Wind Palm, I choose you. Zhao Feng just had to choose a dangerous skill. After practicing Star Finger, Zhao Feng understood that the more dangerous a skill was, the more powerful it would be. Lightning Wind Palm was the same and the disciples of the Broken Moon clan definitely wouldn't dare to practice it. Furthermore, no one was willing to bet the precious opportunity to enter the hollow building on a technique with unknown risks. But Zhao Feng dared. Firstly, he had one more chance to enter the hollow building compared to other inner disciples. Secondly, a cultivation technique that others did not dare to cultivate or were unable to cultivate further proved how powerful this cultivation technique was. Zhao Feng had read some books in the clan world and those legendary figures were those who could do what others couldn't and stood at the top of the pyramid. If Zhao Feng chose a skill that others could easily cultivate, how would he be any different from those mediocre cultivators? Are you sure you want Lightning Wind Palm? Let me remind you that this skill is extremely dangerous and the difficulty of practicing it is even higher than some high-class mortal skills. The old voice sounded. I'm sure. Zhao Feng said decisively. Such a decisive tone made the old voice pause. This was the first time he had seen someone choose such a dangerous skill so decisively. These people could only be described as arrogant. There are usually two results when practicing the lightning wind palm. The first result is that most people won't be able to reach the max level and their meridians will break or they will be paralyzed. The second result is that a genius with high comprehension will be struck to death by lightning. It's the latter that's the most regrettable. The old voice lightly laughed and didn't say anything else. The two results were either not being able to reach the max level or being struck to death by lightning. If it was anyone else, they would feel fear and at the very least, have to weigh their options. However, Zhao Feng ignored the old voice and grabbed the jade slip containing the lightning wind palm and merged his consciousness into it. Buzz, the jade slip lit up and Zhao Feng's consciousness entered a world filled with wind and lightning. It was a scene of a person performing a palm skill in the sky filled with wind and lightning. The might of this palm technique grew stronger and stronger. In the end, it actually resonated with wind and thunder, drawing upon the might of thunder and lightning, directly flattening a small mountain. Such power! Zhao Feng's left eye subconsciously absorbed this scene into his mind. Immediately after, the contents of the lightning wind palm skill appeared from the jade slip and slowly entered Zhao Feng's mind. In the mist where the jade pendant was, there was a strange spell formation's power that carried a piece of memory information onto the jade pendant. Normal people could only comprehend the scene of the person practicing the palm skill once. Zhao Feng, on the other hand, absorbed it into the dimension of his left eye so that he could comprehend it more in the future. The contents of the lightning wind palm skill slowly entered the mind of the cultivator under the power of the array. Zhao Feng immediately memorized it and in the remaining time, he used his left eye to inspect the mist and the jade slips floating in the building. The mist that he was in had been enveloped by a powerful array that had lasted for thousands of years. Zhao Feng wondered if he could break this array or if he could find any flaws in it. He opened his left eye and an azure glow appeared in his left eye to inspect the array around him. Under the super interface of his left eye, lines and patterns appeared around the mist, forming a three-dimensional structure. Copy. Zhao Feng opened his left eye and absorbed the structure of the array in the hollow building into the dimension of his left eye. I'll take this structure back and study it. Zhao Feng had his own plans. After a while, the jade slips in front of Zhao Feng dimmed and all the jade slips in the mist started to lose their light. Just like that, Zhao Feng left the hollow building with the information of the lightning wind palm skill and the structure of the array. Before he left, he heard an old voice reminding him, the skills of the hollow building have been passed down for a long time and cannot be taught to outsiders. Otherwise, your cultivation will be crippled. Remember this. Chapter 132. Zhao Feng ignored the voice and left the hollow building. Not long after he left, a slightly angry laughter came from a hidden pavilion in the hollow building. What an arrogant brat, how dare he ignore this seat's words. Ever since he entered the hollow building, Zhao Feng didn't pay much attention to the old voice. As for the warning, he didn't put them to heart and just did what he wanted to do. From Zhao Feng's point of view, the voice was just a procedure and he just needed to follow the instructions. His thoughts weren't wrong, but he didn't know that behind the voice was an important figure of the clan. Even inner disciples had to be respectful when they entered the hollow building. First elder, he's just an outer disciple and he's ignorant. Why bother with him? An old man with wrinkles all over his face laughed in a hidden building. He was the elder in charge of the hollow building. But today, First Elder noticed that Zhao Feng had used a forbidden skill, so he tried to warn him, but the latter didn't listen to him. Outer disciple. If I remember correctly, only the top outer disciple has the right to enter the hollow building. First Elder's voice was slightly surprised. This rule was set by the founder of the clan and it had been passed down to this day. First Elder also knew that there was a reason for this rule. On the path of cultivation, those with good talent would have a bright future. Therefore, the talent of those who entered the clan was extremely important. But talent wasn't the only factor. The founder's rule was to make up for this oversight. After returning to the courtyard, Zhao Feng started to comprehend the lightning wind palm in his mind. The lightning wind palm was an offensive skill and it focused on intent. Although it wasn't a main skill, it could be used by those at the sixth sky of the ascended realm and above. Just based on this point alone, it surpassed other middle-class mortal skills. Zhao Feng looked at the description of this skill and it belonged to the ancient incomplete art. The grades of the ancient cultivation techniques might be different from the grades of the current cultivation techniques. The old voice had said that the difficulty of the lightning wind palm was even greater than some high-class mortal skills. Therefore, according to Zhao Feng's analysis, the grade of this palm technique might not be as simple as mortal intermediate tier. Closing his eyes, Zhao Feng began to comprehend the scene in the dimension of his left eye. A tiny figure was practicing a palm technique under the sky filled with wind and lightning, causing the wind, clouds, lightning, and lightning to gather. Its power became stronger and stronger until it resonated with the wind and lightning, like a celestial being. Amazing! Every time Zhao Feng comprehended it, he would be deeply moved. Combined with the lightning wind palm's mental cultivation method, Zhao Feng's comprehension could almost touch the concept and principles of the martial art. Thunder wind palm is divided into 6 levels. Level 1, Initiate, comprehend wind force. The second level, Basic mastery. The palm technique has the power of wind and thunder, and it is beginning to take shape. The third level was at the low level. The wind created by his palms would cause thunder to rumble and his power would increase greatly. Under the fourth sky of the ascended realm, it would be hard for him to find a match. The fourth level, High mastery. The palm technique can cause lightning to rumble and it can paralyze the opponent, making it hard for them to move. The fifth level, Peak. Using the wind to summon lightning, the palm technique can create lightning arcs, causing the sound of thunder to rumble. The sixth level, Peak. Dance of wind and lightning. Under stormy weather, there is a chance to summon lightning from the 9 heavens. Once successful, one can instantly kill anyone under the true spirit realm, and even those at the true spirit realm would have to avoid it. The 6th level seemed to correspond to the 6th sky of the ascended realm, but there was a chance to summon lightning from the 9 heavens, allowing one's strength to increase by 10 times. The 6th level is too crazy. Once it summons lightning from the 9 heavens, it can instantly kill anyone under the true spirit realm. Even those at the true spirit realm would have to avoid it. Zhao Feng's heart trembled. After touching this skill, he was sure that the lightning wind palm wasn't a middle-class mortal skill. Of course, although the 6th level was monstrous and the power increased by 10 times, it was also extremely dangerous. If one wasn't careful, the 9 heavens lightning could turn the cultivator into dust. The person who created this cultivation method was simply a lunatic. Those who cultivated it were also crazy. However, since Zhao Feng had chosen it, he didn't regret it and he started to cultivate. The first level was to comprehend the power of the wind. The essence of the lightning wind palm was to cultivate the power of the wind and summon lightning from the wind. Wind was the foundation. In regards to this, Zhao Feng had a certain level of foundation. The first 3 stances of the 4 wind stances, flowing wind stance, tornado stance and partial wind stance, were all pure wind intent. The 4th stance, burning wind stance, used wind to create fire, raising its destructive power to a whole new level. With the foundation of the 4 wind stances, Zhao Feng didn't need any effort to cultivate the first level of the lightning wind palm. In just half a day's time, Zhao Feng's lightning wind palm had reached the first level and he started to cultivate it to the second level. Zhe, looks like I made the right choice. This skill suits me. Zhao Feng didn't think that it would go so smoothly. According to what the old voice said, the difficulty of the lightning wind palm was even higher than a high-class mortal skill. For an average person to cultivate the first level and comprehend the concept of wind force, it would take at least 1 or 2 months, and at most several years. This depended on one's perception. However, Zhao Feng had the foundation of the 4 wind stances and his learning ability was shocking, so he easily completed it. As for the second level, Zhao Feng felt a bit of resistance and difficulty. The second level had the power of wind and lightning. Zhao Feng had a deep understanding of wind, but he didn't have any foundation in lightning. He couldn't help but close his eyes to comprehend the scene in the dimension of his left eye. The scene of wind and lightning, the power of the palm. With this scene, Zhao Feng was able to comprehend the second level smoothly. Around 2 days later, Zhao Feng had basically mastered the second level of the lightning wind palm. It wasn't realistic for him to comprehend the third level in a short amount of time. He spent the rest of his time studying the 7 books that old man Zhang gave him. Of the 7 books, there was only 1 left. The last book was the most difficult and Zhao Feng had to combine the illusion fish picture to understand its essence. Finally, on this day, Zhao Feng had comprehended all 7 books. At the very least, he had learned the basics. At this moment, he found that the 7-day promise with old man Zhang had arrived. So close. Zhao Feng let out a long breath. Because he had to train the lightning wind palm, the 7-day promise with old man Zhang almost went down the drain. Right now, the most important thing for Zhao Feng was to reach the ascended realm with his body. Zhao Feng sprinted all the way to the clan mission division and saw old man Zhang. "You've learnt all 7 books?" Old man Zhang smiled and asked. "Yes." Zhao Feng took a deep breath. Next, old man Zhang asked 15 questions. For each book, he asked 2 questions, 1 deep and 1 shallow. The last question had to combine all the content of the 7 books, so Zhao Feng circulated his left eye and thought for a long time before he answered. After Zhao Feng answered, old man Zhang let out a long sigh. His face was filled with defeat as he stared at Zhao Feng as if he was looking at a monster. "You've really never come into contact with arrays before?" Old man Zhang asked unwillingly. "Does the illusion fish picture count?" Zhao Feng chuckled. Old man Guan had asked similar questions before. Old Zhang's face twitched. In the past, he was also a genius with an eidetic memory, and had made a name for himself in the 13 Clans Alliance with his achievements in the art of formations. But compared to Zhao Feng's talent in arrays, he felt like he was worse than dog shit. "You've learnt the basics of arrays and you even have a deeper theory. From today onwards, go to the clan mission division and help maintain the arrays of the clan, including the energy gathering array, the 1,000-leaf pond." Old man Zhang said expressionlessly. On the same day, Zhao Feng started to practice arrays. There were many arrays in the Broken Moon clan, big and small, that covered the entire clan. With the passage of time, the power of these formations would weaken, or flaws would appear, and they would require maintenance and repair. Zhao Feng followed old man Zhang or the other deacons of the clan mission division to check out the arrays. "So the fog I saw outside the mountain gate that day was caused by the power of the sex formation. The reason why the mysterious floating crest palace floated in the air and danced with the wind, rain, lightning was because of an even more powerful ancient array." Zhao Feng had a lot of understanding. There were many miracles in the world of clans that were created by support professions such as pill masters, array masters and mechanism masters. On this day, Zhao Feng received old man Zhang's order to inspect the 1,000-leaf pond. Being a subordinate of the clan mission division and old man Zhang's assistant, Zhao Feng was here to find the flaws in the energy gathering array. If there weren't any problems, Zhao Feng could enter the 1,000-leaf pond today and use the liquid within to increase his silver wall technique. Thinking about how his silver wall technique had reached the peak 9th level, Zhao Feng couldn't help but be moved. His left eye became sharp and a layer of azure light shot through the array. When he saw the green water within the 1,000-leaf pond, he instinctively swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Zhao Feng didn't make any rash moves. First, he had to inspect the energy-gathering array to see if there were any flaws. This energy-gathering array was huge and it had been set up by several experts at the True Spirit Realm and many array masters. However, Zhao Feng had already memorized the diagram, and adding on his eyesight, he could easily complete the task that should have required several array masters. Over the past few days, Zhao Feng had found many flaws in the array and received praise from Old Man Zhang. And there's a total of 2 flaws and 13 weak points. Zhao Feng nodded his head and memorized it. He would report it to Old Man Zhang when he returned. In the time it took to make a cup of tea, he had completed the task. Then, Zhao Feng licked his lips and took out his token, preparing to open the array and enter the thousand-leaf pond. However, thinking about it, using the token to open the thousand-leaf pond was too big of an action. As an outer disciple, he didn't have the right to enter the thousand-leaf pond. Zhao Feng decided to be low-key, and his figure flashed as he snuck into the thousand-leaf pond from a flaw in the array. Woo! Zhao Feng's body was submerged in the pond water, and he could feel a strange, cold power within the green pond water that spread throughout his body. He closed his eyes and immersed himself in the water. Pang! 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 Zhao Feng felt his left eye twitch, and the weird cold power was being absorbed by his body, cleansing his body. And, although the effect isn't as strong as the marrow cleansing pill, it can last for a long time. Zhao Feng felt that his body was being nourished by the water and became more resilient. Unknowingly, he had almost fallen asleep in the water and entered the fake death state of the dead wood breathing technique. Under this state, his body didn't relax at all and the absorption rate of the energy in the water increased. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.